What is up to the transparency? Come on in. Let's do this. I wanted to finish up the second part of the Shanna Gardner bail hearing. We're going to be hearing more about this because Jose Baez put a motion in. The state answered the motion. Was Detective Johns lying when he took the stand? I don't know what's in the water right now, but Lana, yes, Lana, come on in. I literally don't know what's in the water right now, but when did it become a thing to be like just totally okay with lying on the stand? Like there's no fear because nothing happens to you. So just lie on the stand, because guess what? You're not going to get charged with perjury. Nobody charged anybody with perjury, right? I don't get it. When are we going to start going after people? Cuervo's in the water. There you go. Speaking of the water, I'm going to go out on the water. I'm going to try to blow up a boat. I figured that go down by the docks, wave and smile. Somebody will come on over, check out your boat. I'll fix it for you. Fix a flat. They could use fix a flat. But if worse comes to worse, I could just like lay out on the boat, even if it was to blow up. Just go down in flames, man. Yeah, Kelly, exactly. There's no accountability anymore. But yeah, a lot of protection going on too. Depending on who you are, things get harder. Like, oh, I have to prove this, or start firing people. All right, let's take a look. Again, this is going to be picking up where we left off, because it's going to start getting hot here. Jose Baez is hot over this, because I think it's like, who do you think you are to lie to me when I'm questioning you, motherfucker? That's what I think. Let's take a look. Come on in. Oh, and I just like to say this. Whoever thinks that Brian Kohberger's phone connected to a router at the King Road house is an absolute complete fucking moron. There is zero facts of that. And in fact, there's actually evidence that shows that didn't happen. This isn't a Karen Reed case, okay? Brian Kohberger's cell phone did not connect to any Wi-Fi of the Idaho 4 house at any point in time from June to December of 2022. So if you want to debate me on it, I will love to debate the facts, not your feelings and not your theories. I want to talk facts about that case. I had an amazing conversation last night with Once Upon a Crime, and it was so enlightening to hear, like, yeah, we talk about our theories over here, but like he knows that those are theories, versus people out there saying, you're never going to get me to believe that Brian Kohberger, there is nothing that shows me that Brian Kohberger is innocent. Well, that's not how you look at things. There was nothing that showed you that Karen Reed looked like she was innocent. Okay, motherfuckers. The stupidity. Okay, there is no evidence, and there is not going to be ever any evidence. Brian's phone did not connect to the Idaho 4's Wi-Fi on the night or any day beforehand. So please get your facts straight if you're going to talk about that case, okay? Now, I'm pressing up a little bit because I can. Because it's easy when you have the facts on your side to be a cocky conceited prick about it. Let's do this. They were in like, there we go.
Testimony, she made the same statements.
So there's Jose.
Okay. And he wrote all the checks, including to the children's. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Does that refresh your recollection as to whether the fact that you had informed the roommate the night of Mr. Tennant's arrest?
Okay, hold on.
Yes, this is the child's.
Okay, this is where we left off.
The way you did that was you knew he was a habitual traffic offender, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And
Whoops.
he was pulled over under a ruse that he was going to be arrested.
Stay cocky, friends.
The reason you guys were interested in him
Stay in
is because
school.
he was a
Learn
habitual
more.
traffic offender, right?
That's correct.
Then that was at 12 a.m. on August 18th of 2022, right about that time, right around midnight.
No, it was early in the morning.
Okay. It wasn't at night?
No.
I'll answer this one really quick. I'm going off of the words in the motion. If you go and read Jay Lawson's words, he says the word placed. I never use the word planted, but placed, and because he says that a knife sheet was placed. So I took his words straight from the motion, from the defense motion. And he didn't use the words, a knife sheet was left there. He says a knife sheet was placed. So that was very interesting.
No, sir.
Okay. How early in the morning?
It was like 5:30 in the morning, 5:30.
This is gonna get so amazing here because Jose Baez and this lawyer are about to go Jose Baez and this detective are about to go toe to toe. Jose Baez is about to flex on him with actual proof. He just called him out a liar. The son said he saw Mario playing video games. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know the time. I don't remember the time of the exact traffic stop, but it was very early in the morning.
Let's double check. Hold on a second. Okay. Fair to say it's 4 a.m., right? Does that sound about right?
Like I said, I don't remember the exact time, but it was very early in the morning. I'll give you that.
Okay. So around this time, you had already gone to several of Mr. Fernandez's tenants and questioned them, correct? You and other officers?
We talked to one other tenant.
Okay. And this is where you first saw the truck, right?
No, sir.
Well, there was a situation where you were speaking to a tenant, or I don't know if it was you, but an officer was investigating this case and was speaking to a gentleman who was a tenant, correct?
That's correct.
And that's when Mr. Tenant pulled up at some point, correct?
That's correct.
And there was some questioning about the truck, right?
That's yes.
Okay. And that's kind of when Mr. Tennant got on your radar, right?
He didn't get on our radar until we had located a tire at the house.
Okay. And
Okay, guys, I just have to talk about this for a second. This tire. Okay, this tire. This tire is wild. Who in their right mind? This would happen, we're talking 6 months later. 6 months later, that there would be a tire that would almost match the tire that was found in the middle of the street that Jared moved. Who would take a tire, the opposite tire of that, and just throw it in the middle of the yard or place it up against the side of the house? Who wouldn't get rid of that like a motherfucker? Okay? This is part 2. So the reason they went, they were traveling around looking at Mario's lifestyle and who these people are and blah, blah, blah. And they come across one of the houses and they see this tire, this big truck tire. And it was up against the house. They tried to say it was in the middle of the yard or down by the mailbox or something like that. But it's going to be interesting when this all comes out because this tire is what alerted them, seeing a tire at this property.
while you were in this investigation and subsequent to you actually arresting Mr. Tennant, you go and speak to one of Mario Fernandez's tenants, correct?
Correct. Mr. Tennant's roommate.
Correct. And that's at 5:30 in the morning, that same night, right?
Morning, yes, sir.
Okay, excuse me, morning. You didn't mention that to Judge Peck, right?
No.
Okay, so you're also monitoring Mr. Tennant's roommate.
Oops, I was muted. Sorry. So a police officer, they arrest somebody, Henry Tennant, and then they're like, okay, we're going to go let this roommate know at 5:30 that he was arrested for a traffic stop. A traffic stop. Thank you, muted love. I want you guys to read lips, damn it. Okay, so check this out. You can't make this shit up, man. It's wild. I think it's wild. Ah, for fuck's sake. There we go. Get bigger. Thank you.
And his communications.
What's up, baby
with Mario
girl?
Fernandez, right?
We did request tolls for him.
Okay. In fact, what ended up happening was you found out that there was a call between the roommate and Mr. Fernandez at 7:22 a.m., correct? That same day.
I don't remember the exact time, but yes, there was a call.
And how many times as a homicide detective have you gone and let somebody's roommate notify that their roommate was arrested?
Part of the reason that we went and notified him is that Henry Tennant was driving his vehicle, and we wanted to give him an opportunity to retrieve his vehicle.
Right, but you're aware that as soon as, not even an hour and a half after you notified the roommate, who was someone that you were questioning previously about the truck, that he made a phone call to Mr. Fernandez that same day.
Correct.
And in
Yes.
fact, you told him that Tennant's truck was used in the murder, correct?
Yes.
I don't remember exactly what was said.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
Okay. You sure you don't remember?
You sure you don't
I
remember?
don't remember.
Okay.
You see this shit? You guys.
Fair to say the reason you did this to get them talking, right?
Yeah.
To see where that takes you.
We were not monitoring it.
You guys, listen. I'm going to give you guys some amazing tips here. I want every criminal to come on in my channel. All right. Bring on the criminals. All right. You take that stand and you say, I do not remember. I do not remember. I don't remember. I don't remember. Here is a police officer teaching us how to testify. Okay. Right. So anybody in the Moore case, come on in here in the Moore case. Let me teach you how to testify, man. Let me play what a cop does. I don't remember. I have no idea. I don't recall. Okay. I'm telling you, man, get up in this chat, get up in this room, and if if you are ever questioned in any case, if it is a civil case, if it's a criminal case, I don't remember. You can't fuck with me on that. To say I don't recall, then you want to get away from using the words I don't recall because, well, can I recollect your memory? Can I go ahead and show you something? But then if that ever does happen, after you look at it, you need to say, this does not recollect my memory. Great, everything you're showing, but you're asking me from my memory because everything that is in a document out of court, you guys, that's motherfucking hearsay. And don't you be the dumbass that allows hearsay to come in your courtroom. I told myself when I started a YouTube channel that it was only going to be temporary so I could promote a nonprofit organization. Then I realized that people really don't want to help people in this life, okay? And you got to worry about your damn self. But I figured, hey, you know what? I could do something a different way and still help people. So I really want to help people. Listen, I don't remember. I don't recall. If it comes up, yep, in your memory needs to be recollected, sure. Yep, what you're showing me, I see this, but I still don't recall. I still don't remember that. Okay? Don't say, yeah, this refreshed my memory. It's the last thing you want to say, motherfuckers. The last thing. But do not let hearsay up in your court. Okay? And trust me, some good attorneys say that they can watch how good I am. Watch how good I am. I'll get it in. I'll get it in. I'm telling you, I'm the last person you want to pose, baby girl. Because I have nothing to hide. Absolutely nothing to hide. So let's get fired up. I got the damn bell out. I'm fired up this morning. I love Saturdays. Now that I can get off my high horse rant. But if you are going to testify, you let me know. You hit me up in the emails and you say, Lana, I am set to testify. I'm going to remind you of your rights. Okay. Because if you truly think about something, we don't remember things. I don't remember things word by word by word by word by word. I don't. Neither do you, neither does anybody. Okay? So you're not about to try to trip me up on some bullshit. Okay? Don't let yourself get tripped up. Don't let yourself in your courtroom bring hearsay up in this bitch. Okay, that's all I have to say. Now, God, who's calling me this morning? Get off it. That's my mom.
Communications at this time.
But you were able to go back and check your phone records, right?
Yes. But Mr. Ordway wasn't using his own phone. He was using someone else's phone to stereotypically talk to Mario Fernandez. So I'm not sure.
Stereotypically, I love it. I love it because that's how I would have said it. Look at him talking though. Someone's like, his boss is like, let me, you need to sit down. We're going to have a little talk with you. You only answer the question that is asked of you.
Sure.
Right, and that's what you found out, right? That he was actually communicating with Mario Fernandez after you guys had gone there and told him that Tenen was arrested, right?
Yes.
And that the truck was used in the murder, right?
I don't know the communication as far as that was concerned. I was not there for that.
Okay, but the whole reason you told all of us, including Judge
Think about this. So I just want to bring everybody up to speed. If somebody called me and said, oh, Annie Potts, yeah, her truck was used in the murder of Sally Smith. What? Okay, awesome. Do you not think I'm going to tell my friend Annie Potts, girl, I had the cops over here. They're telling me, just so you know this, you know how the fucking cops work. They want basically me to call you and tell you this. Your truck was used in a murder, girl. What do you think I'm going to do with it? Tell my girl, hey, the cops think that your truck was used in a murder. They didn't say that you did the murder, but your truck was used in the murder. I don't know what you want to do with the information. Or would I do this? All right, sounds good, bye, and not tell my friend. I'm going to tell my friend. I'm going to tell my friend what the cops said. Why? Because why wouldn't I? The words, your truck and murder, you ain't no friend if you ain't telling your friend about that shit. That doesn't make me guilty either. What would you do? What would Jesus do? He warned the apostles, right? He warned them. The disciples. He warned them. He told them to turn the other cheek. After he told them what was up. I'm fucking hot about a lot of things. Stupidity is just, I just can't get down with it. Can't get down with liars. Can't get down with cheaters.
That Miss Gardner called the PR people that they were concerned about the truck, that there's no way they would have known. You conveniently left out the fact that you had actually gone to this gentleman's house and told him that Tenen was arrested and that the truck was used in the murder, correct?
There again, I don't know what was said to Mr. Ordway. Exactly.
Okay, so again, this is really important. During direct examination, this detective told the judge, because this is about a bail hearing, and so it's like a little mini trial. It's awesome. Like they do this shit in Indiana too. It's fucking tits. He says on direct examination that there is no way in hell that Shanna Gardner could have known unless like she was involved in this murder about the truck and about the arrest. And here, you just conveniently left out that you went and told the roommate all of this shit. And that's how it got out. Okay? Because the roommate then called Mario Fernandez because they're implicating, hey, they just picked up your tenant. Now they're saying that his truck was used in the murder. And I'm just telling you, like, that's all I know. They came here again at 5:30 in the morning. That's how people find out about shit. But this detective here left all that shit out during direct examination. And now Jose Baez is hot and he is getting up in that ass.
Exactly.
Look at him.
But
He's
either
so
way,
pissed.
isn't it kind of odd that you would call and let your landlord know that your roommate was arrested?
Well,
No.
you remember I get to ask the questions here. You don't.
Sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
Listen to him. Listen to that. Listen to that right there. You got to admit that it's odd. What's odd about
Okay.
it?
Now, as the detective, of course, you get to review all of the reports in this case, right?
Yes, sir.
Including those of your partner, Detective Lamont,
Yes.
right? I want to clarify. I know
You guys, you don't call your landlord because your roommate got pulled over and arrested for a traffic stop. Okay, that would be odd to me. Now that would be odd to me. But calling the landlord, tenant, someone that you're cool with, when they're talking about the murder of your wife's ex-husband and that implicating a truck, I don't think that's odd at all. I think actually it would be odd if you didn't say something.
you seem a bit unsure about whether you guys had informed the roommate as to whether the truck was used in the murder. Remember, you seem a little unsure of that?
Yes.
Okay, would it refresh your recollection if I showed you Detective Lamont's report, where it says, where it lays it out for you?
Okay.
Oh, right there. Love it. I have this report. Let me get my report.
May I approach this?
Yes.
I want to direct your attention first to the date and time of the report, which is August 19th of 22. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And page 2, where it states, the roommate's name was advised tenant's truck was used in the murder of Jared Brightigan. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Does that refresh your recollection as to whether the fact that you had informed the roommate the night of Mr. Tennant's arrest that his truck was used in the murder?
Based on the report you showed me, that yes, the officer did inform
Yes!
that the truck was used in the homicide.
You say the officer, you're referring to your partner, right?
Yes.
Detective Lamont, right?
Yes.
Basically, the second, I don't know how you guys do it. Are you guys equal, or he's second in command here?
I'm the lead and he's the co.
Okay. So fair to say, he's going to tell you everything that he's doing in your case, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to show you guys how exactly Jose Baez got this in. Okay, because remember, police reports are hearsay and they don't go back to the jurors when they want to deliberate. Now, there's no jurors here, but I'm saying let's say that there were jurors because I like to learn. Right? So here's how he does it.
I want to direct your attention first to the date.
First of all, I was going to ask him something.
Okay. Now, as the detective, of course, you get to review all of the reports in this case, right?
Yes, sir.
Including those.
Right there. As the detective in this case, Sergeant Van Leuven, Detective Van Leuven, this is your case, correct? And you then go and you listen to all the recordings and the reports, right? So you review them. And you sign off on them when they're written up and they're printed out. So you review them.
Of your partner, Detective Lamont,
Yes.
right? I want to
So like Leslie Lehman, when she wrote up a report, Rich Alderson, those are two people that work for you that you sent out to go and get interviews, right? Okay.
clarify.
So anybody out there that says that I don't know what I'm talking about, this is exactly how Dr. Moore's attorneys will and should get in everything that I've been talking about. Okay, thank you.
I know you seem a bit unsure about whether you guys had informed the roommate as to whether the truck was used in the murder. Remember, you seem a little unsure of that?
Yes.
Okay, would it refresh your recollection if I showed you Detective Lamont's report where it says, where it lays it out for you?
Okay.
Yeah, Jose, I had to show you this report, motherfucker, which you would have reviewed.
I want to direct your attention first to the date and time of the report, which is August 19th of 22. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And page 2, where it states the roommate's name, was advised tenant's truck was used in the murder of Jared Brightigan. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Does that refresh your recollection as to whether the fact that you had informed the roommate the night of Mr. Tennant's arrest that his truck was used in the murder?
Woo!
Based upon the report you showed me, that yes, the officers did inform Ordway that the truck was used not in the homicide.
There he
You say
is.
the officer, you're referring to your partner, right?
Yes.
Detective Lamont, right?
Yes.
Fuck yeah, bitches.
Basically, the second, I don't know how you guys do it. Are you guys equal or he's second in command here?
I'm the lead and he's the co.
Okay. So fair to say, he's going to tell you everything that he's doing in your case, right?
Yes.
Including something as important as telling a roommate that they just made an arrest on perhaps the biggest case in Jacksonville, right?
It was a busy time for us right then, and I can't say we had just arrested Tim, and I was not aware of his exact verbiage that he told to Mr. Ordway.
And that's not something you normally do, right? To leak to potential witnesses critical information on a murder investigation, right? That's not something you do often.
I mean, it was not. It was public knowledge that a truck was used in the murder.
Well, it was public
That's not
knowledge
true.
that Henry Tennant's truck was used in the murder, right?
I think based upon the previous interactions that we had had with Mr. Ordway, he had a fairly good idea that that truck was used.
So now you know about it.
But my question again was, it wasn't public knowledge that Mr. Tennant's truck was used in the murder, correct?
Correct.
And that's not something you do. You would agree that that's not good police practice to go around telling witnesses what's going on in a murder case, right?
I think at the time we were looking for cooperation from Mr. Ordway, and so we believed him to be involved in this. So I don't think it was from a perspective of we're just giving you, we're leaking information about our case. It was an effort to gain his cooperation.
So now you remember.
Oh, this is so amazing. This is sick right here. So now you remember everything. Remember how we just said a minute ago? I wasn't there. And you got to be recollected on the police report, right? I wasn't there. He was fucking there. I have the police report. He was there. Him and Lamont went there together. So are you trying to say that Lamont went on a different time without you present? Detectives go in pairs, man.
And now you have knowledge of not only the fact that you told him about the truck being used in the murder, but why?
I didn't tell him I wasn't there. I told you that.
Okay. But now you know why. Now you're kind of recalling why, right?
I have a problem with him saying that he wasn't there. I'm gonna have to go check my reports because, so you sent a detective on his own to go there by himself.
I'm saying why it's likely that the officers told him that.
And you knew before you took the stand today that Mr. Ordway had called just an hour late. Well, actually, he made several calls immediately, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Fernandez didn't answer the phone, right?
I don't remember exactly.
But the third call, there was I think 38-minute conversation, correct?
Sure.
Okay. And you knew that conversation occurred before you took the stand today and told us that there's no way that Shanna Gardner would have known or Mario Fernandez would have known that the truck was used in the murder when you, in fact, had advised a witness of such a fact, correct? You knew that before taking the stand today.
Mr. Ordway was advised of the truck. No, I did not know that before today.
You didn't know?
I did not know that specific conversation happened until you showed me the report.
Okay. You just said a moment ago that it refreshed your recollection that in fact occurred, correct?
No, sir. You indicated that. I did not.
And you agree with me, sir?
No, sir.
So you
What?
said no, that doesn't refresh my recollection?
He's
I'm
a
indicating
fucking-
you that Mr. Ordway had knowledge of this case and that us telling him about the truck was not the same as their leaking information. I did not have specific knowledge of what you showed me, or did not remember what you showed me until you showed it to me.
No. No. Actually, what you did here is you just got up on the stand, did you not, and testified under direct examination that how could Shanna Gardner know that Henry Tennant was arrested and that, and then she's calling her PR people and they're calling her and blah, blah, blah. On the same day, August 18th, that Henry Tennant was arrested. How in the world could Shanna Gardner know that, right? That's what you just got up there and testified to under direct examination. Isn't that correct? You made it a big deal that if she's claiming that she doesn't know him, how could she know that he was arrested, or it makes it look very suspicious that she would start calling her PR people, whatever. But you forgot to leave out the fact that y'all called the roommate. Y'all went to the roommate's house of Henry Tennant and told him he was arrested and told him his truck is the truck that was involved in the murder. That's how it got back to people. But you left that out because you made it seem like, how could she must have talked to Henry Tennant. Made it seem like to the tribunal. No, you called. You went there, your team. And you best believe it, you're going to tell me that a truck of my roommates was involved in a murder, not once but twice, and then tell me that he's arrested. And I know how y'all play. Oh, they picked him up on some stupid traffic stop so they could ice him down, and now they're going to work him on this bullshit. Okay?
So you're essentially clarifying your prior statement when I asked you if it refreshed your recollection as to whether police had notified Mr. Ordway of the truck being used in the murder, right?
I do not remember reading that before today, is what I'm saying.
Now, you would agree that this report was turned over in the course of the discovery, right?
Yes, sir.
And that, of course, prosecutors will have this information, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. I wouldn't have it unless they got it, right?
Correct.
You don't give me reports, you have them give it to me, right?
That's correct.
So before taking the stand and making representations that there's no way Ms. Gardner would have known that the truck of Henry Tennant was used in the murder at that point in time or talking to the PR people, it's not true, is it?
You're asking me to know what Ms. Gardner does and doesn't know. So in other words, I can't speak to that.
You were never questioned in any way, shape, or form about you or Detective Lamont or any other detective going to visit Mr. Tennant's roommate at 5:30 in the morning to tell him, hey, your roommate's truck was involved in the murder, correct? You weren't asked a single question about that, right?
About telling Mr. Ordway that?
I love Jose Baez, man.
No.
Sign me up, Jose.
Sir, you mentioned that there was animosity between Jared Brightigan and Shanna Gardner because he wanted the children to be brought up in the Mormon faith, but she did not, correct?
That's correct.
And that a source of contention was Ms. Gardner not wanting to have one of the children baptized, correct?
Correct.
Is it a fact, sir, that Ms. Gardner, in fact, encouraged and was fine and was very supportive in terms of the child being baptized?
I think on the surface, she made that representation to her child.
But it's also in the text messages that you reviewed in this investigation too, correct?
There were some text messages between her and Kim Jensen where she basically stated that she did agree to it, yes.
Okay. So that statement too is not exactly correct. Correct?
What do you mean?
She was in support. She supported the child in getting baptized, correct?
Yes, she gave her support, yes.
Now, you also mentioned that while the child's CPT interviews were going on, that Mario Fernandez decided to go to bail and go to Canada. Is that pretty much what you testified to, more or less, during direct?
One of the children said he was going to Canada. I never indicated that he was going to Canada.
Well, you testified about it, right?
I testified about his trip, yes.
Now, Ms. Gardner wasn't allowed to participate in the CPT interview, correct?
That's correct.
And she, in fact, wasn't present, didn't get to see it, correct?
Correct.
You didn't, like, we just saw that video, you never showed her that video, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And she would have no idea whether the children would have told the CPT person that Mario was or was not present the evening of the murder, correct?
I would assume that she discussed the interviews with him, but no, she would not have been present. She would
Oh
not
my
have
God.
She would have no idea what those children told CPT, correct?
I'm sure she would by asking them.
I would assume where he just said 3 sentences ago, I don't know what Miss Shanna Gardner does with her time, but I can assume that she would have talked to them after that. So you pick and choose when you want to assume. I mean, this guy is a joke.
When in fact they were asked, when in fact, if in fact she asked them, she said she could, but you don't know that she did, right?
I do not know if she did or not. However, there were statements that were made by Mr. Bradigan that the children were often coached. So
Mr. Bragg never told you that the children were coached what to do in a CPT interview, right?
correct.
Now, you also talked about this 5-month period where Ms. Gardner, you were concerned about her fleeing, she was traveling around all over the place, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Sir, you're aware that
Do you know that he just referenced Jared Brightigan, who would have been deceased? Okay, well, Mr. Brightigan indicated that they had been coached. When Jose said, "Oh, he told you that about the CPT interview," like he's taking text messages between people that have gone through a divorce over from 2015 to present, and that whatever they could write in text messages is like Bible gospel, woo, and he's like bringing it in here. Like I've never seen a detective, a police officer answer this ignorant in my life.
after there was a gap between the arrest of Mr. Fernandez and Ms. Gardner, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this 5-month period is during that time, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so what you represented to us was that she was moving around and staying at an Airbnb in Tallahassee and then going other places, correct? Like Orlando? I don't think you mentioned that, right?
No, the only places that I know that she was at was
The Airbnb.
Tallahassee and Savannah.
Okay, and Savannah. Now, you're aware that Ms. Gardner's counsel at the time had in fact sent an email and had advised the state that Ms. Gardner was willing and able to surrender herself at any time should they decide to charge her, correct?
I am aware that email was sent, yes.
Okay, and at no time did either you or any other law enforcement officer or any prosecutors pick up the phone and call her counsel and say, hey, let's do without the TV show, bring her in, correct?
I'm not aware of that now.
Okay, and are
So this is really important here. Mario gets her, the husband that she married after Jared, he gets arrested in March. Okay, Shanna Gardner isn't arrested until August, right? But what Shanna Gardner did not want to do is have her kids around any of this shit. Okay, so she had a lawyer that was like that she got back when like the media was all over them, going to like take pictures of them at the park and whatever. So she's like, I will stay, like I'll come and get an Airbnb in Florida, in Savannah. Like her lawyer told the police, here, this is where you can find her. This is where she's going to be at. But she does not want to bring does not want to subject her kids to any of this shit. If you guys are trying to arrest her or want to talk to her, whatever, okay, her lawyer reaches out. So under direct examination, he was asked, well, did anyone tell you that Shanna Gardner was leaving the state? No. Did Shanna Gardner tell you that? No. Why would Shanna Gardner do a damn thing? Once you have a lawyer, you do everything through them. You do everything through your attorney. Shanna Gardner wouldn't call you up and say a damn thing. Her lawyer would do it all, and her lawyer did it. But for the prosecutor to ask that type of a question, to say, did Shanna Gardner call you up and tell you that she was moving? No. And here Jose Baez is cleaning it all up for ADA Stiffler over there, which I'm looking into her with a name like that. But here Jose Baez is cleaning it up to say this is how it went down. Okay, so you're gonna get up here and you're just gonna tell the truth, both sides, because there shouldn't be biased. This guy should not be biased. he comes across as extremely biased, and I want to know why. Because that's when you know that you're in the wrong field. You're a police officer doing your job, okay? And your job is to help get a conviction to be able to, prosecute, and through that conviction, first of all, the right people, but through that conviction, you're getting justice for the victims. But in my way, more importantly, we can't have repeat offenders out there, right? We can't have people just going and doing this again. And I would want that. I wouldn't want anybody to be harmed and go through what I went through if I was a family member and went through this. I wouldn't want that. And you need to get the people that are truly responsible for whatever crime off the streets. Okay, because they're going to do it again. Because we are patterns, we are humans, and we are patterns of behavior. And this guy, joke.
You're not aware that ever occurred, right?
I'm not aware that a phone call like that was ever made,
Right. No phone call was ever made, as far as you know.
as far as I know. Yes.
And in fact, that was never a suggestion of yours, right?
No, it was not.
Okay. And in fact, you're aware as a police officer that when you do a takedown in someone's home, there are numerous officers that are armed, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's in fact occurred in this case,
Yes, sir.
and that there were children in that home,
Yes, sir.
and multiple officers stormed that home with assault rifles, correct?
I don't think they stormed them.
They went inside, yelled police, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
And things can go drastically wrong when that happens, right?
Yes.
In fact, you put lives in danger when you do that, right?
Many lives are in danger anytime that we do any type of operation.
It's a necessary risk that you have to take, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But nonetheless, lives are at risk, including those of children, right?
I do not believe that they're at risk.
But all of that risk could have been alleviated had someone picked up the phone and said, okay, Ms. Gardner, why don't you turn yourself in, right?
That would also give someone an opportunity to flee if they were going to.
Now, you're also aware, or are you aware, I should ask you, that the reason that Ms. Gardner was in Tallahassee and other places was that they were waiting to see if in fact she was going to be charged and that she wanted to be in the jurisdiction of the court?
I did not know why she was in the locations that she was in.
If that in fact is true, let's assume that for 5 months, she's going from Tallahassee, Orlando, Savannah, and renting places to stay there, to be close if she's charged. That's quite a large amount of effort and expense to avail themselves to the jurisdiction of the court. Would you agree?
I mean, I can't speak to what she was doing.
I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you, sir, that
Hey,
if in fact that's true, that the reason she's doing that is to be able to avail herself and turn herself in, that's an extreme amount of effort and expense. Wouldn't you agree?
and that's what this whole hearing's about, that she's not a flight risk, that she's not a risk to society, she's not a risk to anybody. She's putting her out there. No one's going to be in danger by having Shanna Gardner out on bond, or that's what this is about. And so he's going at him like this now, like, well, you're acting like she's a flight risk, but in actuality, she made herself available in your jurisdiction. Like, so how, and went through extraordinary measures to do that, and expense to do that.
Why would she not just come to the jurisdiction that the court is in?
Again, I get to ask the questions and you don't.
Who does this? What police? He sounds like a little kid, man. Why wouldn't she just come to the jurisdiction? Why would she want to be in Jacksonville, where there's media and they're hounding her?
But my question to you, I know you don't want to answer it, but I'm going to ask it again. You would agree that that's a lot of effort and expense, right?
I would agree that it would be a lot of effort and expense to rent a home for several weeks that you do not currently live in.
And you, of course, are aware that there was a significant amount of media coverage in this case at that time.
Yes, sir.
Especially focused on this woman after Mario Fernandez was arrested, right?
I can't speak to exactly what was focused on her, but overall, the case had a lot of media attention.
But the theme was, when's she getting arrested, right?
Honest to God, I don't pay attention to the news.
But yet you'll leak stuff to them,
Occasionally, when it's necessary.
and you leak stuff to
Oh,
them specifically
motherfucker.
about this issue.
What do you mean?
Someone was getting arrested, specifically Mario.
Yes.
Just gonna have the court's indulgence for a moment. Let me see if I have any further questions.
So right here, Jose
So just two quick follow-ups. You're aware that Mario Fernandez was basically in charge of all the finances while he was married with Shanna Gardner, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he wrote all the checks, including some children's schools, that sort of thing.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay. And you talked about how this divorce was imminent, and that was something that Mr. Tennant said, that Mario Fernandez said, that's why it has to go down right away, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But sir, you're aware that both Mario Fernandez and Shanna Gardner were planning on divorcing for months, correct?
That was what they indicated to the school staff, yes.
Right. In fact, they communicated that to the school because one of the concerns is disruption in the children's lives, correct?
Correct.
And that's something they wanted the school to monitor, right?
Yes.
Specifically Shanna, right?
Yes.
So it was no secret that while they were still together, living together, they in fact were going to get divorced in just a few months after the children finished school, correct?
That is what Shanna had indicated to the school staff, yes.
Now, one last thing. When discussing the testimony of Mr. Bird to Judge Kite, you told, this was the statement with the guy who mentioned that Ms. Gardner said she wanted to find someone who could shut people up.
Yes, sir.
Remember that? And then you testified that you took it to mean murder, right?
That's what Mr. Bird stated.
That Mr. Bird stated. But you, in fact, are aware that Mr. Bird didn't state anything of the kind. In fact, to the contrary, he said, as to that point, he didn't take it to mean anything at the time, correct?
My recollection of his statement was that he did, in fact, mean that she was looking for someone to kill Jared Bergen.
Well, would it refresh your recollection if I showed you the police report on this specific interview?
Possibly.
May I approach you with this? Would you?
Yes, please show.
Oh, sorry.
This is good.
I'm showing you, sir, a report dated 6/17/22. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. And on the second page of that report, it specifically states that Bird advised at that point, he did not take it to mean anything at that time. Correct? Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
And do you see murder anywhere written in there in any way, shape, or form?
No, I did not.
I have no further questions. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, before you question, can I see the lawyers at sidebar just for scheduling?
What the heck are they doing? All right, so she's going to they're doing sidebar, but then Stiffler is going to redirect. This
Second
This is wild.
Ask you a few things that
Here we
follow
go.
up on some things defense counsel asked you about. Kim Jensen's testimony or her statements, KJ's statements that you were present for, she also gave testimony at a grand jury proceeding in February of 2023.
That's correct.
And you had the opportunity to review a transcript of that testimony, which was unsealed by defense counsel. And in that testimony, she made the same statements regarding Mario Fernandez on his statements in Hawaii, correct?
That's correct.
And she also made statements to the grand jury under oath before being put in your car and taken to the state attorney's office that Mario Fernandez frequently spoke about taking care of Jared during times of trouble in their marriage, correct?
That's correct.
So the reason that no recorded sworn statement by the lawyers was taken of Ms. Jensen is because there was a discussion. In your opinion, Ms. Jensen was still minimizing and withholding, correct?
That's correct.
Wait a
As far
second.
as date nights, you conducted interviews with Ms. Gardner, Mr. Fernandez Aldana, and Jared
How is this not leading?
Brightigan's wife at the time, Kirsten Brightigan, and you were mentioning that as a matter of routine, all 4 of the children were at date night for the most part.
That's correct.
And on that particular night, the youngest child wasn't there, but BB had a very close relationship with LB and particularly AB, correct?
That's correct.
And she was always at date night for the most part.
Correct.
And there was some mention about the CPT interviews. That is an hour and 40-minute interview, and in that interview, it would be fair to say that LB is inconsistent in the course of his own interview about the timeline of events that night, not only related to Mario Fernandez Aldana, but related to just the events of the night.
That's correct.
Section meeting.
Thank
Did
Thank you.
Ms. Gardner ever tell you that LB was not the most reliable witness?
Yeah, she made statements in her own interview that he was not very reliable with details and facts.
And did she advise you in that same interview that if you wanted a better timeline or more accurate details, you should speak with AB?
Yes, that's correct.
Detective Johns, when police are executing a warrant for first-degree murder, is it generally done with a takedown team and SWAT?
Due to the severity of the charges, the flight risk, and the risk to evidence, it is I've never heard of it done any other way.
Right, so any homicide that you're aware of the Jacksonville Beach Police Department or an arrest on a first-degree homicide that they've made, or in your time working in conjunction with the ATF and with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, for the most part, that is standard matter of practice.
That's correct.
Mr. Tennant's roommate, he was interviewed how many times prior to that August 18th?
At least 3 times.
And he was cooperative and actually gave you information regarding Henry Tennant's possession of a vehicle that was similar to the one used in the homicide.
That's correct.
And on August 18th, that wasn't the first time he'd been asked about that vehicle or shown the picture of the vehicle immediately released from Jacksonville Beach Police.
It was
But it was not the first
no,
time.
it was not the first time.
Defense counsel has presented you with some iCloud messages from Ms. Gardner about other flippant comments she may have made about wanting to kill someone. And so these came from her iCloud. So were these deleted from her iCloud?
I did not see them.
If defense counsel was provided a copy of her iCloud from your property room, correct?
Correct.
So if they got these from them, that means that Ms. Gardner most likely did not delete these flippant comments about killing people
Objection,
from her
calls for
iCloud.
speculation
Thank you.
and leading.
Sustained on meeting.
Sustained on reading.
The messages between Kim Jensen and Shanna Gardner about killing Jared Brightigan were deleted from her iCloud, were they not?
Correct.
And as far as you know, are her children still alive? They haven't been murdered.
They're not murdered.
The last 2 issues I want to speak about are the child custody issues, disputes regarding the baptism. Was there a dispute between Shanna Gardner and Jared Brightigan about which church or ward the baptism would take place at?
Yes, Ms. Starter wanted it to take place in the local ward where she was friends with the bishop and his wife.
The Bishop Curry,
Yes,
the same ward where KJ is a member,
that's correct.
and Ms. Gardner was not actually a member of that church at the time.
That's correct.
Defense counsel brought up that the text messages regarding looking for a hitman stopped in about 2017. But Ms. Jensen, at grand jury and the state attorney's office, did she give you testimony regarding statements after 2017?
There were always, just because the statements weren't in their text messages, there were always continuous statements made about killing Jared or Mario taking care of Jared, meaning to murder Jared.
And some of those statements referenced COVID, which obviously occurred after 2017.
Right.
Okay. And Ms. Gardner's attempts to reach out to other individuals, M or H or Thomas or Bradley Bird or Justin Brightigan, before 2017, they ceased up at that point. She married Mario Fernandez in 2018, correct?
That's correct.
And one of these statements from her former coworker at Discovery School was that prior to marrying, Mario Fernandez Aldana told Shanna Gardner that he could take care of Jared, get 4 guys, break in and make it look like a burglary.
That's correct.
The court case had calmed down before the homicide, and we've entered exhibits into evidence. Were there any text messages between KJ and Ms. Gardner regarding the, quote, best time for magic?
There was a message from Ms. Gardner to KJ that stated that the best time for magic is when things are amicable.
And again, magic was one of their code words that they used to talk about the murder of Jared Brightigan.
That's correct.
Don't have any further questions.
This
Oh.
witness step in.
Yes, sir.
Wait,
Just that brief, really.
nothing you've covered before.
No, just thought that that was a lot of time.
Okay.
Everything was leading.
Detective, you testified that just now during redirect that the child who gave the statement about Mario being home was not reliable, right?
Ms. Gardner stated that he was not
That's
reliable.
a redirect, right?
Correct.
But you relied on his statements during direct examination, correct?
In conjunction with his sisters.
And you mentioned about his text messages.
Shut the fuck
that
up,
I did not
Jose.
see them.
Stop.
Um,
Stop right there. Mm-mm.
What your answer was in reference.
See, just so you guys know right there, when you talk about lawyering, okay, that's not like Jose Baez didn't go to school right there. And he didn't learn that in law school right there. You understand that? Comprehension, your comprehension skills, that's not taught to you in law school. His ability to do what he just did right there has absolutely nothing to do with going to law school. Okay? Sorry, but it doesn't. Jose Baez has a disgusting memory. Like, when I say disgusting, it's like nasty. It's awesome. And that is something that they don't teach you in law school. They also don't teach you how to connect the dots in law school. Y'all know that, right? You learn about the law. Boring. Okay. When you see amazing attorneys, it's because their dynamic is not just, it's multiple parts to them. Okay. In order to allow your multiple part dynamic strengths show, you have to be a really good listener. So Jose Baez had to listen really, really well there because that girl went lickety split quick, okay? Because she led the whole way. But you'd also have to know the case extremely well. Again, nothing that this man went to law school with, what you're seeing right here it's like an athlete. Either it's God-given. Some stuff is God-given ability. God-given ability, athleticism, and then from there you practice, okay? You're given abilities and then you fine-tune. Whoop. So he got him right there. Wait a second. You just said on direct examination that you relied, okay, on one of the kids' testimonies about where Mario was. But now on redirect, you testified that it's unreliable, but that's the same person that you relied on testimony. And so probably did they testify at the grand jury? This is boom. It's special. This is what you call an absolute fucking complete. This guy is so like twisted up like a pretzel. and he drowns into himself like this detective. Yeah, I mean, he's drowning in his own blood right up here, if you ask me. Gargling.
Reference to these text messages of having not seen specific text messages. You have not reviewed all of the text messages as you.
That's correct. I have not.
Okay. And then, are you aware that in the grand jury testimony, COVID is never mentioned, correct?
She is making the reference to COVID was made in text message.
Okay. But they are essentially, I hope he dies of COVID or something like that, right?
No, it was indicating that Mario couldn't take action because of COVID.
Now, there's nothing, those are not specific text messages that you introduced today, correct?
I have not introduced anything.
Okay. In fact, sounds like a pretty damning text message. Why didn't you bring it to court today?
I do not introduce evidence to the court.
And that's a fact because it doesn't exist, right?
There is talk between Kim Jensen and Shanna Gardner about Mario not being able to take action because of COVID.
That, in fact, is a statement that was allegedly made in this unrecorded conference that was at the state attorney's office. Would you agree?
It was made there, yes.
Boom, bitch! Sit down!
All right, thank you.
No! Owned his ass.
My understanding is the state doesn't have any further witnesses, is that correct? Okay. All right, we're gonna take let's say a 10-minute recess, okay? And then we'll start with the defense case. Court will be in recess for 10 minutes.
Okay, so she only brought that detective. Now Jose Baez is going to put on his case, and who he calls first is, I think he goes with Shanna Gardner's attorney that she hired during, yeah, that's him.
Correct.
And that initially followed the publishing of photos of her children by the media.
You did?
Now,
So she hires this guy because he's a civil attorney, and she hires him because the media is following them around, and the media is running with a bunch of bullshit, as far as she say. But she's really pissed off because they're taking pictures of the kids and they're putting them in like Us Weekly magazine and shit like that, which I think anybody would be pissed about that. Okay, you don't take pictures of people's kids in a like. You want to go take pictures of celebrities, okay, and their kids. What happens? Celebrities go fucking ape shit over that, right? Now, can you imagine you want to come take a picture of me and my children because of and talk about murder in your article? You got like that's crazy, right? So if you didn't hire an attorney for this purpose to communicate, but both times that Shanna Gardner talked to the police, she went with no attorney.
I want to fast forward to the fall of 2022.
And think about this. She's got, her family has so much money, right? If she got one of this, why didn't she get an attorney to go talk to the police? Oh, because it'll make you seem like you're guilty. That's what people say, like, so don't do it. No. That's fine. Think that I'm guilty, but I'm not dumb. All right? Fuck you. I'm not dumb. That's fine. You guys can think that I'm guilty. But you lawyer up, you never have to say a word to anybody. And I recommend that with anything. And I've learned that. Okay? Police aren't coming to you because they want truly your side of anything. If the police are coming to you or want to talk to you and something else was brought forward, you aren't the victim. You understand that? Otherwise, you would have talked to the police first, and then they would have been the ones going and talking to other people. You understand that?
Were you aware that Miss Gardner moved to Washington State?
Yes.
Was that done?
So this part,
Matter of fact, she notified the Duval County school system where her children would be enrolled in Washington.
And in fact, law enforcement executed a search warrant on her home in February of 2023 in West Richland, Washington, correct?
That's correct.
And did the state attorney's office know that you were representing Miss Gardner by the end of 2022?
Yes, they did.
And you had multiple conversations with them at many levels?
I don't know that I had multiple conversations with them. They knew it.
Did they ever reach out to you and ask you where Miss Gardner was?
No.
Would you have told them?
I would have.
And did you know where she was?
I knew exactly where she was.
Now, after that warrant was executed on Miss Gardner's home on February 6th of 2023, at that time, did you start to believe that Miss Gardner may be a suspect in the murder of Jared Bryant?
I think a reading of the search warrants would have made it obvious.
Now, Later, in February 17th of 2023, there was a hearing about the cell phones that were seized in February from Ms. Gardner's home, correct?
Those are in front of Judge Cardullo.
And so you had more communication with the state about this case in February of 2023.
Yes, I represented Ms. Gardner in front of Judge Cardullo.
Now, you became aware that Mr. Fernandez was arrested on March 16th of 2023.
What he just said there was really important. If you would have just read the search warrants, you would have known that Shanna Gardner was, because you remember they're doing a murder investigation. There was search warrants that were served on people. Shanna Gardner got one of those. Okay, and if you just would have read the search warrant alone, you would have known that you're a person of interest, you're a suspect, whatever the word you want to use is. You would have to be deaf, dumb, and blind. You basically have to be a vegetable. If you think that Shanna Gardner and her family did not think that she was suspect uno. So to me, it's kind of weird that she didn't lawyer up right off the gate. I think that that's strange. That's like being, for her to say, oh, I don't want to pay that money. No, that's like being dollar dumb and penny wise, okay? Why didn't she just get an attorney right off the bat? I don't know. Maybe she's stubborn. Maybe she's like, I didn't do anything, blah, blah, blah. And I have nothing to hide. Whatever. Take whatever you want. I didn't do anything. Okay? Because guess what? That's what I said once. That's what I said once. In fact, I called up a detective once. I said, what the fuck is going on here? What are you guys doing? Why are you allowing somebody to do X, Y, and Z while you're supposedly either charge him with something or close down this fucking case? But what I will not be a target for all of this bullshit that's going on while you've conducted some ridiculous 9 to 12 month investigation over nothing and come to find out that you lied about shit to do with my phone. You are subjecting me to harassment because you're not doing your job. So charge me with something or close this fucking case. Are we clear? That's what I did. That was my phone call to Popo. They're like, damn, man, you straight up insane. No, I'm not. Like, get the fuck out of my face. Anybody that called you up on the phone doesn't ever come see you, hang up on them. Hang up on them. You want to know why? It's clearly not that important. If it was important to somebody to interview you, they're going to come see you. When you want to try to call anybody up, hang up the phone. Hang up the phone. It is not a crime to be rude. Fuck them. Lying at me. Oh, we want you to be cooperative. I don't have to cooperate. In fact, maybe if I don't cooperate, you'll do your goddamn job and not try to pin shit on people that are innocent. How about that?
I approach the witness.
Yes.
I'm now handing the witness what's defendants for. Mr. Cox, can you please explain defendants for in the context of it to Judge Kite?
I had learned from Mr. Jesse Dreiser that his client had been arrested close to Orlando. He let me know that. And so I almost immediately sent an email to Ms. Stiffler in the state attorney's office, letting her know that telling her that if she was interested in Ms. Gardner surrendering, she would do so immediately.
Did you ever receive a response to that email?
I did not.
Boom! You know what I just testified to there?
After Mr. Fernandez was
He emailed the motherfucker. Listen to this. Thank you there, Ocean. Listen to this.
Mr. Cox, can you please explain defendants for in the context of it?
I mean, what? You have a Mr. Cox and you have a Miss Stiffler. Can this trial be? Come on, man. Miss Stiffler, ADA Stiffler, and Mr. Cox. You guys, when life hands you a joke, you take it. All right. Especially when you got to talk about murder all day. Mr. Cox and ADA Stiffler.
Judge Kite?
I had learned from Mr. Jesse Dreiser that his client had been arrested close to Orlando. He let me know that. And so I almost immediately sent an email to Ms. Stiffler in the state attorney's office, letting her know that telling her that if she was interested in Ms. Gardner surrendering, she would do so immediately.
Did you ever receive a response to that email?
I did not.
Why wouldn't you? See, that is how you handle shit. Pop them right back. As soon as that happened, they made the move. They made the move. You go on offense. So to sit here and try to say that Shanna Gardner was evading and that's why she moved to Washington because she was trying to like run, blah, 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 blah. Dude, stop lying. Stop creating narratives that aren't there. Shanna Gardner was accessible as fuck to y'all. Okay? No communication back. Ignored it. Right there, you know what that tells me? They're playing hardball. 100% they're going to be coming for you. Yeah, actually, you know what? Is your client up to talk at all because of this? You know, they didn't give you a heads up to say this was going down, right? Hey, make sure the kids are not around or something. Maybe, you know, this is just, and people out there are going to say, no, this is what cops do. And this is that they're allowed to do this stuff. They do it for a reason. They do it for a reason. Well, I don't want you to keep saying that people do this for a reason. What's the reason? Stop saying they do it for a reason and start telling me why they did it. Why does a cop have to lie to you? Why? They can. I know that they can. Don't tell me what I already know. I know they can lie to us. But you ask yourself, answer my question. Why? Why do they need to lie, though? Why did they feel that they had to lie? You're creating undue pressure. You're creating, like, every single person in the United States of America is different. They handle things differently. They respond differently. Okay? How I would respond, how you would respond, how anybody it's always going to be different. And I can promise you that these detectives and these fucking patrol officers, they don't know how anybody's going to respond. And Jose Baez said it best. Why would you go in and go like SWAT style up in Shanna Gardner's place? Those are dangerous. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? No, you want to make a scene. You want this to go out there and it to be you want this body cam to get put out. You want people like me to go get the body cam and go put it out. Okay? And for what? To further a narrative. I have no idea if Shanna Gardner did it, didn't do it. Mario did it, didn't do it. Henry Tennant did it or didn't do it. Okay? Not a fucking clue. Literally not a clue. Because I don't have the evidence. We'll find all that out in a trial. But what I can tell you that I care about is that I care about how I would win my basketball games. I care about how I would win a golf tournament. I wouldn't go cheating to beat the little girl that I'm playing against in a golf tournament. Right? I wouldn't go not counting all my strokes. I wouldn't go fluffing my ball, turning it over, hitting it. I wouldn't cheat to win. Right? Everybody that's either a lawyer, that's a defense attorney, whether a prosecutor, whether you are in the criminal justice system, period, if you're a cop, this is a game. These are wins and losses. And I know that may seem like, no way, Lana. It is wins and losses. It's a job. It's a game. And to them, it's all about winning. Win at all costs. And if you don't think that that's what they're doing, I'm sorry, but they are. Because you don't do shit like this. But it's so hypocritical because the same reason that you got involved in law enforcement is because you believe in our U.S. Constitution. You're supposed to uphold our U.S. Constitution. You're supposed to uphold our rights, which are your rights as a lawyer and a police officer. It just makes me sick. This shit makes me sick. There's 2 little kids involved here, okay? And I don't believe that Shanna Gardner was a risk. I don't believe that she is a risk, right? I believe that it would mean more to her kids, because I've seen people that are out on bail they had nothing except speculation. There was nothing tying Shanna Gardner to this. Okay, Mario could have done this to just make it so that she could never divorce him. Okay, because I'm going to take you down then. Or for whatever reason, nobody could have done it. I've seen African American males be threatened and coerced into a lot of things in life, and maybe Henry Tennant just told them what they wanted to hear. Who knows? But my point is that those 2 kids, they should have their mom right now. And when it comes, because you were innocent until proven guilty. And when it comes out and they go to trial and then she's found guilty, then she can go to prison. Because to me, those kids need her. Their dad was just murdered. Now their mom is arrested. Many months after the fact, and off of what? And when you're going to be talking about what she was arrested off of, this type of shit, I have a problem with that. As a parent, you should have a problem with that. Shanna Gardner should be with her children right now, and she should be able to aid in her defense. And then once she is found guilty, they're trying to put her to death. This is a death penalty case. Okay? After she's found guilty, it is what it is. And I also don't think they should be going after the death penalty case, or you should be doing the death penalty for her, because like I keep saying, there are little kids involved here, and their dad was just gunned down and murdered, and now you want to murder their mother, okay? Versus just putting her in prison for the rest of her life, right? When I come and meet like Christians or people that are of faith, and when they say like, yeah, we're pro death penalty, I kind of scratch my head and I'm like, I thought God can only judge. I thought that God can only do certain things, but yet you want to go killing people. That's what I think to myself when I hear people that are so pro, death penalty. It's like an oxymoron when then you want to talk to me about religion. Yes, one of the children is sick. Yep. And I just say to myself, dude, I would never want that on my conscience that, think about having to live in prison for the rest of your life. Think about how much you love your freedom. And then to think that person is going to go literally through hell. The death penalty to me, that's like the easy way out almost. Like they're just, I don't know. Who would want to live in prison? I would say, give me the death penalty. Just kill me, man. I'm not to live in prison for the rest of my life. Get the fuck out of here. Why? For what reason? So it's amazing when people say, oh, here, we're going to cut a deal and we'll give them life. But then I'm thinking, I'm not taking that deal because that to me seems worse. But hey, I wouldn't want on my conscience every single night that I go to bed that I sat in an execution and watched somebody that I pushed to have a needle put in their arm or them being electrocuted. And people can say, well, maybe you'll feel differently if it was to happen to your kid. Okay. No, because I think that if I was to feel differently about it, I would kill that person. I wouldn't need anybody to go do that for me. That's how I would feel about that. But I also know that I would be seeing red at that point. And I just wouldn't want them to possibly ever be able to hurt anybody else. And so it'd be life without the possibility of parole. But I would want the truth out of it. Like I wouldn't be cutting no deals and then them not being able to tell me anything. Nope, we're going to a trial. I want all the details. Because if anybody else have possibly been involved, I want to know that. So I would never, when people say like, well, I don't want to put myself through like a trial or something like that. Fuck no. If there's a chance that other people were involved, the only way it's going to come out is in a trial. But going and death penalty for what? That's easy. But yeah, this is a death penalty case. So I just have a problem with the way this whole thing went down.
Now, after Mr. Fernandez was arrested, did Miss Gardner return to Florida,
No, she did not.
to Tallahassee?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, she did go to Tallahassee.
Okay, so she was in the state of Florida.
She was.
And why did she come back to the state of Florida?
I was dealing with a lawyer in Salt Lake City named Tim Anderson, who represented Ms. Gardner's family there for many, many years. I told Mr. Anderson that I'd already committed to the state of Florida, that I would surrender Ms. Gardner immediately upon their request, and that was meaningless if she were in the state of Washington. And I recommended she come to Florida and be somewhere in Florida so I could produce on the commitment I made. I talked to an attorney in Tallahassee named Richard Doran, that's D-O-R-A-N, and I said, look, if I have a client come to Tallahassee and live there temporarily, would you be available in case some problems arose, meaning if police came to arrest her or whatever? He agreed to do that. I talked to an attorney in West Palm Beach named Scott Richardson. I knew Mr. Richardson had previously had experience with Airbnbs in Tallahassee when he was chair of the Board of Bar Examiners. I asked him if he had a recommendation. He did. I made arrangements with Tim Anderson that Ms. Gardner would come to Tallahassee and stay there, and we would wait to hear from the state of Florida.
Did you ever hear from the state of Florida?
Never.
And at some point, she also went to Savannah, Georgia, which was also in striking distance of Jacksonville.
She went to Savannah, Georgia because her parents determined to visit her when they could. Travel between Salt Lake City and Tallahassee was very, very difficult. Savannah was much easier than Tallahassee. So I called a lawyer named, I'm trying to remember her name, Amy Copeland, who was recommended to me by John Osick in Georgia. She's in Savannah. I said the same thing to her that I said to Richard Doran.
Correct.
And we'll just refer to it to the church as we go through the question, okay?
Sure.
What is a ward in the church?
A ward is the name that we call a local congregation that's
Okay, so that
purview over anything related to their membership.
And with respect to baptism in the church, do both parents need to consent to baptism?
Under some circumstances, I believe they do not. It's an administrative matter that I'm not up to right now. I'm not familiar with it enough, but generally it's not necessary from my recollection.
Now, at some point, did you become aware that Miss Gardner's daughter desired to get baptized?
Yes.
And is it all?
he basically testifies that it was they're putting on their case to show that Johns is lying. Okay, so that was the baptism stuff. That was a lawyer beforehand, and now this is one of the sisters, I believe. Yeah, this is her sister.
Mr. Brady?
Ms. Rogers, can you tell Judge Kite what city and state you live in?
I live in West Richland, Washington.
And up until she was arrested in August of 2023 in West Richland, Washington, how far away from you did Shanna Gardner live?
Other side of the country.
No, prior at the time of her arrest in August of 2023.
Oh, sorry, next door.
Mr. Brady?
The microphone, sorry. Next door to you?
Yes, sir.
Oh wait, no, this is her. This
Ma'am, what-
is her neighbor.
What do you do for a living?
I am a self-employed baker.
Is that the same type of business that Ms. Gardner ran in Jacksonville Beach, Florida, until she moved to Washington?
Yes.
When did you meet, when I said, do you know Shanna Gardner? Do you know
Yeah.
her?
Yes.
All right, when did you first?
Yes, Pebbles. This is a death penalty case. They are seeking the death penalty, 100%.
I met her in February of 2020.
Can you tell Judge Kite how you met her?
We both attended solo at a cookie convention.
Is that called CookieCon?
It is.
All right, and what is CookieCon generally?
It is.
Yeah,
a
it's
place
like
for
CrimeCon.
cookie artists to go and learn and be creative within the.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you.
So she just talks about being her neighbor and why she lives there. Now this is her. Now okay. Now this is her sister, and she gets cross-examined.
She's a baby.
Okay.
Just do it. You see right here?
Mr. Brady?
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss White, where do you live?
Philadelphia, Utah.
And what is your relationship with Shanna Gardner?
I'm her older sister.
And can you please explain to Judge Kite where you fit in the Gardner family?
Shelley and my dad got married when I was 5. So I'm from a previous marriage.
And how many kids do Shelley and Sterling have together?
They have 4, 5 counting me.
And are they all daughters?
Yes,
And where does Shanna fit into the 5 of you?
she's a baby.
Have you maintained a close relationship with your sister Shanna since she became an adult?
Yes,
And you have a niece and nephew through Shanna the twins?
I do.
And they're now 12 years old, is that right?
Correct.
And there are a few subjects I want to talk to you about for the purposes of this motion to set a bond for your sister. And the first is Shanna's move to Washington State in
Woo! Memberships, baby!
fall of 2022. So let's go back in earlier 2022. Had you visited your sister Shanna here in Jacksonville that year?
We came to Orlando that year, and she came with the kids to see us.
You guys, I'm covering this case for 2 reasons. I think it's going to be that good of a case to cover with certain things when you're going to talk about. This is either obviously Jose Baez is going to bring it. It's going to be really, really good litigating. Very, very amazing, unprecedented preparation. So those 2 things. And then obviously a man was gunned down while he was driving and dropping off his children that he shared, and he had another child in the car, and that somebody put a tire in front of his vehicle when he was leaving from the drop off of sharing the kids, and to think that somebody, I want to know who had the audacity to take a dad, from kids. Like, what the fuck? Okay. Then anybody and everybody that was involved with that should never be allowed to roam again. You know what I mean? Because if anybody would think about children and make their decisions about children, this would have never happened. This would have never been joked about, in my opinion. Do I think it's horrible for Shanna Gardner to even joke about something like that? Absolutely, 100%. Because that's the father of your children. The fuck. Your children love that person, like adore them, right? Joking about it even, but that was hot off the press and so many years before then this took place. Okay. So it's, cooler minds prevail after time. So to see that this took place in 2021, 22, and that their divorce was in 2015, that's scary. It's scary for anybody that would go through a divorce and think that 5-6 years down the road, boom, something like this,
Yes.
And were you aware as to whether or not in 2020?
So this whole purpose I'm covering this case is for the complete exposure of it. I want to expose if there was bad cops involved, bad policing involved. I want to expose how certain things can be committed and as far as crimes go. And the more that you know, the better you're educating yourself, how the world works.
To your parents, Shanna or Sterling and Shelley, had whether or not they bought a house in Jacksonville Beach.
Yes.
And was that a discussion amongst the family that they were buying that house?
Yes.
And what did the family call that house?
The beach house.
What was the purpose of the family buying the beach house?
So that when we came to Jacksonville to visit, we'd be able to stay there.
And was that located at 2709 Ocean Drive in Jacksonville Beach?
Yes.
That house was purchased shortly after Jared Bridegan was killed in February of 2022, correct?
Correct.
But the family still bought it.
Yes.
And did the family also buy a minivan
Yes, they did.
to keep at the beach house?
Yes.
Can you tell the judge why they bought a minivan?
To cart many people back and forth from the airport to the beach house to Shanna's house, wherever we needed to go.
And was it the intent of the family to have the beach house to essentially facilitate visiting Shanna here in Jacksonville?
Yes.
Prior to early fall of 2022, did you ever expect your sister Shanna to move from Jacksonville Beach?
No.
And why did you not expect her to move?
Because she stated she had roots here. She wasn't interested in leaving. She had a business. There was no reason for her to go.
And did that hold true even shortly after Jared Bridegan had been killed?
Yes.
And because you actually came to Jacksonville shortly after Jared Bridegan had been killed, is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell Judge Kite the circumstances under which you came to Jacksonville?
Yes. I and a lot of my family came for the memorial for Jared.
And when you mean memorial, what are you speaking about?
The event that Shanna planned so that the children could have time to mourn their father and have closure.
And the extended Gardner family, or many of them flew in for that?
Yes,
And was it organized?
it was very, very organized.
Who organized it?
Shanna
Where did it take place?
at the beach house.
Was there a photographer there?
Yes,
Why was there a photographer there?
because Shanna felt because the kids were so young, she wanted them to remember that day. She wanted them to have a reference of that day
About their father?
about their father.
Now, I want to fast forward to fall of 2022. Had things changed for Shanna in Jacksonville Beach?
Yes,
What had changed?
her business was failing. Other kids at school were saying things to her kids that were not nice. She was being bullied by the media. The children were not feeling safe, and neither was she.
And ma'am, we heard from Marla Rogers, but her son, your nephew, has a heart condition.
Yes,
How does that limit where he can live?
he can't go anywhere above 1,000 feet elevation.
But one of the places he could go was West Richland, Washington, where Marla Rogers lived.
Yes,
And Ms. Gardner ended up moving to West Richland, Washington. Is that right?
that's correct.
Did you facilitate that?
I drove with her cross country
In what vehicle?
in the minivan that was purchased here in Jacksonville.
And did Ms. Gardner do anything, or did you make any observations of Ms. Gardner as you all left the state of Florida?
Yes, as we were crossing the Florida line, she became very emotional and started crying.
Did she have any outbursts or say anything when she was crying?
I asked her why she was crying, and she said that she was heartbroken because this was her home, and she felt like she was being run out of her home.
Now, after Shanna was arrested in August of 2023, who had been the primary caregivers for her children?
She had been.
And after her arrest?
After her arrest, I got Shelley.
And how old is your father?
He's 74,
And how old is Mrs. Gardner?
62.
And have they essentially moved to Washington State?
Yes,
Do you fly out to Washington State from Utah to assist them?
I do.
About how often?
It's worked out to be about every other month for a week.
When you go out there and essentially, I imagine you're giving your parents a break, is it?
Yes,
When you go out and give your parents a break, have you observed the impact on the twins by their limited contact with Ms. Gardner?
yes.
Can you tell the judge about the impact?
There have been several times when they've become upset and they've expressed wanting to speak to their mother. And because she can only speak to them certain times of the day, she's not readily available for them.
And does she have a special connection with her son?
She does.
Can you tell Judge Kite about that?
There have been times where LB has had problems when he's been struggling. And later on, when Shanna has called, we'll find that she's been having a rough day also. So it's a connection that goes beyond distance.
Now, were you ever aware that Ms. Gardner had left her children in Washington and come back to the Southeast after Mr. Fernandez had been arrested?
Yes,
And what was your understanding as to why she did that?
it was to protect the kids in case she was arrested, so that she would be here to be available to turn herself in if needed.
Now, does the Gardner family have any homes out of this country?
No.
Any family that lives abroad? After, Ms. Gardner, Shanna eventually returned to Washington State after many months.
Yes,
What steps did the family take after she returned to Washington with respect to the possibility of her being arrested?
there was always a member of our family with her. In the event that she was arrested, we wanted to ensure that there was someone there with the kids so that it would be as least traumatic as possible for them.
And did you perform that duty at time?
I did.
Did other family members do the same?
Yes,
Ma'am, there's been some talk about the daughter's baptism.
yes,
Were you aware, well, let me say this, are you a practicing member of the church?
I am.
And is most of the Gardner family a practicing member of the church?
Most of us, yes,
And Shanna still communicated with you at all times, right?
all times.
And did Shanna speak to you about her daughter being baptized?
She did.
Can you tell the judge about those conversations?
She
Ambushed on a dark
Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna play when she gets cross-examined, just because it's, this is about a character witness. This is about, this is how things were. This is why, this is.
yes.
Okay.
And do you
Oh, it's right here.
I'll get some more light. Oh,
ever expressed to you or other members of the family that she
Wait.
I don't think they care.
Okay, here we go. I think this is it.
Ms. White, you heard the prosecutor talk about the significant resources that your parents have.
Yes,
Are those the same resources that they used to fly Shanna here after Mario had been arrested?
yes.
And who paid for her to stay in all these Airbnbs and hotels for months?
My dad, Shelley.
And who paid to fly the kids down to see Ms. Gardner during that period of time?
My dad, Shelley.
And is there a willingness on behalf of the family to invest the same resources to make sure that if Ms. Gardner is given a bond, that she will remain available to the court?
Of course.
Thank you. No further questions.
thank you.
Okay, here we go.
why has AB been baptized?
No.
Is AB, LB, and Ms. Gardner members of any ward in Washington?
No.
Isn't it true that your sister, Ms. Gardner, was actually very upset about the baptism dress? Because wasn't there a dispute with Kirsten Brighton over who was going to take AB shopping for that dress?
I'm not aware of that.
Ms. Gardner has been vocal to you and her other sisters about, at the time, her jealousy as to AB's relationship with Kirsten Brighton and becoming closer. Isn't that correct?
No.
Ms. Gardner was upset and annoyed that AB's baptism was going to take place at Jared Brighton's ward instead of her own. Isn't that correct?
I'm not aware of that.
And over the years, obviously, you were around when Shanna and Jared got divorced, and you would agree with me that it was a very acrimonious divorce.
Sure.
Your parents, in fact, don't like and did not like Jared Brighton, correct?
Are you speaking which tense?
Both, either.
Well, I don't think they cared for the way that he treated their daughter.
And there was a lot of litigation, and your family was greatly involved in the litigation with Shanna Gardner about protecting her money from Jared Brighton during their divorce, correct?
I would not say that, no.
Ms. Gardner and Mario Fernandez are still married to this day, aren't they?
Sure.
Well, are they or are they not married?
I believe they are.
And Mario Fernandez was married to Shanna from 2018 till present, so he was in AB and LB's life for a while.
Correct.
And after Mr. Fernandez and Ms. Gardner separated sometime in the summer of 2022, he has not seen the children since then. Isn't that correct?
To my knowledge, no.
He hasn't been to the home in West Richland, Washington.
Not to my knowledge.
And you and your family members haven't spoken to him since then.
No.
Did Ms. Gardner ever express to you or other members of the family that she had concerns that Mario Fernandez was involved in Jared's death?
I've never heard that.
She's never told you that?
No.
What about after Mario was arrested?
No.
Your family never had a conversation after her current husband was arrested for the murder of her ex-husband about his involvement?
No.
It just never came up?
I've never been a part of a conversation like that.
Your family has annual meetings, right, with minutes?
Yes.
Did it come up at this year's annual meeting?
No.
The death of Jared Brighton didn't come up?
In our last meeting, no.
Has it come up at any family meetings?
Not to my knowledge.
There was no conversation with Shanna Gardner after Henry Tennant was arrested for the murder of Jared Brighton?
About Henry Tenton? No.
So before Mario Fernandez was arrested, before Ms. Gardner was arrested, Henry Tennant was arrested and publicly named as the individual who shot and killed Jared Brighton, and Shanna Gardner never discussed that with you or the family members?
She never discussed it with me, no.
She never told you who Henry Tennant was?
She didn't have to. The media did just fine.
She never told you that she knew nothing about it, or she didn't even know Henry Tennant? No conversation at all?
No.
Judge, I'm object, asked and answered, and well beyond the scope of direct.
I'll get some more light.
Has she ever spoken to you, and since you're the caregivers of the children, about conversations she's had with AB and LB about their father's death?
Could you say that again?
Has she ever spoken with you about the conversations she has had with LB and AB about their father's death?
Yes.
What has she said that she's told them?
Well, I don't remember anything specific other than I didn't answer any questions that they may have.
Like, how was Mario Fernandez involved?
I'm not aware of that.
Have the children ever asked her that?
I'm not aware of that.
As the current or part-time caregiver of the children, have they ever asked you that?
No.
The children have never once asked you about what you,
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
Go ahead, finish. Go ahead.
the children have never once asked you about what you know about Mario Fernandez's involvement in their father's death.
I'll rule it. You can answer.
No.
Have the children ever mentioned Mario in the entire time since they've left the state of Florida?
His name has come up in things that they used to do with him. As LB has mentioned a couple of times, video games that they had played together. Beyond that, no.
You mentioned a memorial that Shanna Gardner and Mario Fernandez had for Jared Brighton at your parents' beach house. Shelly Gardner, who's your stepmother, correct?
Yes.
She actually published those photos on her blog, So Shelly, correct?
Yeah.
And discussed the memorial on her blog, correct?
Yes.
And do you work for Stamping Up?
I do not.
Members of your family work for Stamping Up, correct?
Yes.
Stamping Up is the company that Shelly and your dad own.
Yes.
And Stamping Up released a letter about Jared Brighton's death, didn't they?
Yes, I believe they did.
Despite the blog post about his memorial and the public letter released by her company, you're telling this court that no one in your family has ever discussed the murder of Jared Bridegan or the involvement of any of the charged parties.
Have we talked about the murder? Yes. Have we speculated? No.
Well, what have you talked about?
The fact that he was murdered?
Murdering means at the hands of another you've never discussed could possibly have been the one to murder him?
No.
I don't have any further questions.
Redirect.
Ms. White, was it a conscious effort by the family not to ask Shanna Gardner questions about her case?
Yes.
Were you aware?
Yes, you guys, 100%. Let me explain to you why. Every lawyer is going to tell you this. Every lawyer is going to say, do not discuss this with anybody, to include your family. And this is why they tell you that. This is why they tell you that. For right here. You don't want anything to be used against you. You don't want anything to be, when I say used against you, twisted, manipulated. Do not talk to me. Talk to a therapist. Talk to your child. Like, that's what they're going to tell you. Do not discuss this. And so I love that this would be in front of a judge because she knows that. So no, this is not weird. No, it's not. You're going to sit here and tell me you never did. No, that's normal. This is so normal. So it's for me to sit here and think like, but for the layman, they may say, yeah, I don't believe that. She's lying. That's what a juror would think, that she's lying. I find that so like your sister's not going to confide in you. No, because you are told those things for these exact reasons.
Aware that she had retained an attorney in 2022?
I was.
And was the entire family aware that this was going on?
Yes.
And was the family told not to discuss the case with Shanna Gardner?
We were told.
Thank you, Judge. No further questions.
It's that simple.
It should be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right,
Ambushed.
Okay, I think this is closing.
well, y'all have competing motions.
I am, Your Honor. I'll defer to the state. I think.
All right, we'll have the state go
That's
first.
first.
Okay.
And I do think it's their burden with respect to the Arthur hearing, because if they don't meet their burden, or if they do meet their burden, it's over.
This court.
Yes.
Jared Bridegan was brutally murdered, ambushed on a dark, desolate road with his 2-year-old child, strapped in her car seat, her face still sticking with ice cream after dropping his children off at this woman's house. Murder. The words used by defense witnesses have been died, his death, not for a robbery, not for road rage, not any action he did, but solely because he was an inconvenience to this woman. This was a cold, calculated, premeditated murder following years of plotting and planning, manifesting, hoping, wishing, making it happen, seeking, enticing, inciting, encouraging. Shanna Gardner was not present on the scene. Nobody is saying that. She went to Walmart, she went home. There are no direct text messages that the state can find or ever will find because she planned this murder with her current husband, whom she lived with. The circumstances and the circumstantial evidence in this case weigh so heavily in pointing the finger at her as the person who set this entire event into motion over years, based on this idea that she was fixated on, that she wanted freedom from Jared Bridegan, freedom to do what she wanted with the children, freedom to be in charge of her own trust, freedom to make decisions about their therapy, their medications, their religion, where they would live, what they would do, when they would do it. Despite the myriad of other alternatives available to Shanna Gardner, a woman of her resources, her education, her influence, and her power, she chose murder instead of the court system, instead of the legal system. The state of Florida and the law enforcement officers who worked tirelessly on this case for years and years and years not only established evidence of this woman's guilt, but they eliminated every other viable suspect. In the state of Florida, certainly, practically on the face of this planet, they would have any reason to target and ambush Jared Bridegan. Because again, this isn't road rage, this isn't a gang initiation, this isn't a drug deal gone bad, this isn't an affair or a drug debt or a beef with somebody. This was somebody hiding in the woods on a dark night, waiting for this man to move a tire from the middle of the road and gunning him down in cold blood while his daughter sat in the car seat covering her eyes with her jelly shoes. And the evidence the court has to look at in this case is the circumstances surrounding this. she was her own worst enemy and her own greatest witness against herself, because she was so vocal for so long about wanting this to happen, about how much she hated Jared, and the people she spoke to about her plan are people that she thought she could trust, that would never take a stand against her, or people she thought wouldn't be believed. It is not easy to find someone or hire someone or solicit someone to kill someone. There are no yellow pages for it. There's no attorney she can call someone to refer her, like they referred her to an Airbnb to hide out to before she surrenders herself. The people she asked were people that she knew. A trainer from a gym that I had an affair with. Tattoo artists and a tenant of my husband who has a criminal record. People that she, in her mind, believes to be involved in the criminal justice system. The only people in her circle, in her world, that she thinks without any kind of knowledge about doing this type of activity, because everyone else in her world is equally educated, equally influenced, equally affluent, and not involved in this corner of life. Her own words and her actions preceding this homicide and her actions after this homicide are the proof evident presumption great of her guilt. We filed a motion to deny her bail under the Florida Constitution and Arthur, as well as the pretrial detention statute. We have met our burden today. We presented live testimony. The state of Florida could have presented affidavits, put our detective on the stand to prove that heightened level, the heightened burden with a heightened presentation of case, subjecting him to cross-examination. And we proved that she has committed the charges against her as a conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, solicitation to commit first-degree murder, as a principal to first-degree premeditated murder, as well as a principal to child abuse. The principal instruction in Florida is just that she had a conscious intent the death of Jared Brighton occur, and that she did some act or said something that was intended to and did incite, cause, encourage, assist, or advise other people to carry out this homicide. And again, she had no dealings directly with Henry Tennant. There are no communications the state of Florida has, or even if we had, that we could use at trial between her and Mario Fernandez, because they have stayed married to this day. What we have is a tremendous circumstantial case against her based on her words and her actions. Circumstances that she incited, because we will never have direct evidence of that unless Mario Fernandez-Aldana decides to become a state cooperator. Those being that this woman is the only person in the world that had this level of resentment, hatred, and motivation to ambush, eliminate Jared Brighton. That she wanted to have total control and freedom over the decisions in rearing their children. That she spoke at her interview with Jacksonville Beach Police about her resentment for how he was during their marriage, and some resentment for how she felt that he was acting now. As you know, now he's turning the corner. Now he's the perfect husband. Now he's the perfect father. And that freedom, that motivation is evident based on where everybody ended up. Because Henry Tennant, no doubt, pulled the trigger and killed Jared Brighton. He's confessed to it. He says he did it. He says Mario Fernandez solicited him, paid him, provided the firearm, drove him there, was on scene when he murdered Jared Brighton. There is no motivation for Henry Tennant to do this crime without being incited, encouraged, or assisted by Shanna Gardner and Mario Fernandez. And there is no motive.
See, she nails it right there. Yeah, everything is Mario, and now, but you're throwing in Shanna, and for me, like, maybe she did do all those things, but you have not proved those things. I'm sorry, but like, you're gonna need Mario to flip, because it's how it's gonna come out about Mario. Mario's fucking crazy.
For Mario Fernandez to do this without the encouragement and solicitation and permission of Shanna Gardner. The most damning evidence we have comes from Shanna Gardner's own statements to her best friend, a woman she trusts with her life, a woman she talks to 5 or 6 times a day, a woman she tells the most intimate, mundane details of her life, a woman that tagged herself, quote, Team Shanna, a woman who was dragged to the grand jury, was withholding, minimizing, refusing to tell police about text messages, all because she wanted to protect her best friend. The statements that she did give the state of Florida and law enforcement, likely just the tip of the iceberg of what this woman actually knows. And she wasn't bullied, she wasn't threatened, there was a show of force suggested in defense cross-examination that we put her in a patrol car, pretty much posters in front of her face, and made her tell us what we wanted to hear. What she told us is in black and white in these text messages. She said it at the grand jury under oath, and she said it again. And she's going to say it on that stand at the trial.
And you didn't record her. Okay, so remind you, like Jose Baez, there is no communication yet from KJ and SL. So this is all happening. KJ and SL are watching this and saying, holy shit, what the fuck? This is a bunch of lies.
That days before Jared Brighton was ambushed, targeted, murdered with no other suspects and no other motivation, that this woman sat across. Fernandez in Hawaii and told her, if you really don't want me to do this, you need to tell me now. The evidence that she said yes is so overwhelming because the ultimate result, the consequence speaks to the action. He would not have done this. He would not have gone to Henry Tennant, given him the gun, and done this action if she hadn't said yes. Because in the end, she got what she wanted. She and Mario Fernandez stayed married, but they went their separate ways. She got control of her trust. She got to move to Washington. She has her children. No one's interfering with her now. She's got no, even her current husband, ex-husband, writing and family, nobody's interfering with her choices regarding her children.
Nobody interfered before.
She ended up on top. Henry Tennant got $5,000. Mario Fernandez got the proceeds of a sale and got to remain in a marriage and go in a separate way. But the person who benefited in the end, one of the jury instructions we told
Henry Tennant got $5,000. You guys, I about fell
what
over.
benefit, favorable treatment, what did
Who
they get?
kills for
The testimony
$5,000?
is the same motivation as to why this crime was committed. Who ended up with everything they wanted? Shanna Gardner, and that speaks to her being the one that put this whole thing into action.
Ah,
She has a pecuniary interest in this without Jared Brightigan having any legal entanglements her because he's deceased. She now can control her trust. There are years of incitement, and I anticipate and I understand. Maybe if there were some remote text messages that were joking from 2015, everybody jokes about their ex. I get that. Everybody in this courtroom gets it. There's nobody here who hasn't said something at some point in a joking manner, like these text messages about the insurance for the medicine or the little, I'm not going to say the word, referring to her son. But those people didn't end up dead. They didn't end up dead 10 minutes after leaving her house, less than a mile from leaving her house, shot at the hands of a person who's renting a home from her company that's funded by her trust, implicating her current husband. That there's no one unlucky or that naive in this world that this woman didn't know about this, wanted to happen, and cover up everything that happened afterwards. She attempted to solicit other people. It wasn't just, I wish I could hire a hitman. It was, I'm not joking. I'm serious. Your Honor can read the text. Do you think M would do it? Do you think H would do it? There are days in a row where she's saying, should I talk to him? Should I reach out to him? Should I ask him? She tells the brother of the victim, I want to hire a hitman, and she's serious. She tells a tattoo artist, because she probably, in her world, thinks a tattoo artist knows hitmen, if he knows anybody. Years and years and years and years go by, and defense counsel brought up a great point, which is this all stopped sometime in 2017. Well, that's when he meets Mario Fernandez Saldana, and he tells her, I've got a military background. By the way, I know 4 guys who can break into Jared's house, make it look like an accident, no one will ever know, or make it look like a burglary, no one will ever know. There's no need to solicit a hitman, she married him. The money paid to Henry Tennant to complete this task is drawn from an LLC that she and Mario Fernandez jointly control that is funded by her trust fund. And the $5,000 payment for the murder, he got $2,000, $3,000 for actual legitimate work. He was paid $5,000 for a Kickstarter for a pallet business, which was actually the first down payment on what would be a funneling of funds through him over time to repay him for this hit. And when Your Honor looks back at the wire calls, Shanna Gardner is telling her PR firm and Kim Jensen that, oh, this guy Henry Tennant, they arrested for murder. There's one thing they could twist against me. It's that we gave him $5,000 last year. It is very telling to this court and should show her mind and her knowledge that she only mentioned that $5,000. She didn't mention the $2,000 and the $3,000. Those are for legitimate work. She knows the $5,000 is what they're going to twist because she knows that was the $5,000 earmarked for the hit. I'm going to anticipate there's no question that Mario Fernandez did this in conjunction with Henry Tennant. Henry Tennant made a sworn statement saying as much. He's taken his plea of guilty to murder, second-degree murder. The children, there are some disputes about whether he was there or not there. Henry Tennant says he was there driving the truck. And Henry Tennant was on foot. Somebody was driving that truck. And Jacksonville Beach Police eliminated everybody else other than Mario Fernandez Saldana. By the way, Henry Tennant has said this after they've already found evidence of Mario Fernandez's involvement. Because it's corroborated. But Henry Tennant didn't know what evidence Jacksonville Beach Police had when he gave a statement. He pled at his first court date. There's going to be an argument that these are just words. The court shouldn't look at this as her responsibility, that she didn't assist Fernandez, or she had no part of this, had no knowledge of it. That her actions are strong indication of her guilt. It shows her as a conscious of guilt. It shows her as a willing participation in this. There was no renunciation of this. She sat in front of detectives with the Jacksonville Beach Police Department April 15th of 2022 and told them, I don't know what happened to Jared. Maybe it was a gang initiation. Maybe it was a drug deal gone bad. Maybe Kirsten Brightigan killed him. All while sitting there knowing that for the past 3.5 years, Mario Fernandez has been telling her every time they have a fight that he'll take care of Jared. That Mario Fernandez has been telling her that he would run him off the road, that he would follow him through his stairwell, that he was having a hard time taking care of it, meaning kill him, because COVID was preventing Jared from leaving the house. And that days before Jared's murder, Mario said during Hawaii, if you don't want me to do this now, you need to tell me.
When did that come out? I might have missed that. Who said that? Who would
Ms.
testify to that?
Ms. Jensen,
Okay.
Kim Jensen, these are all statements that Kim Jensen gave to law enforcement in the state of Florida in July of 2023. And she testified to it, testified to Detective Johns on redirect at the grand jury in February of 2023.
So that was her grand jury testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
For which part?
The Hawaii statement.
The White
The
Statement?
Hawaii,
The what?
Hawaii statement.
The Hawaii statement.
That's what I'm gonna term it, the Hawaii statement.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt.
She's being interviewed as a witness. She doesn't bring up any of this information, which is extremely germane and extremely of interest to investigators. And in fact, affirmatively sends them down a different path, bringing up these other theories. There's evidence that ring camera footage that Gardner and Fernandez were provided the search warrant for ring by ring. I won't say inadvertently, but it should not have been done. And that there was footage that should have been there based on the habit of life of the recording device itself and what the investigators knew about the movements of the children that night and about other recordings they were able to find. There's discussion between Ms. Gardner and Ms. Jensen regarding the ring. That discussion came days after Henry Tennant was arrested on unrelated charges. There's deletion of messages in her phone and in her cloud, messages that the detective testified were present in Kim Jensen's phone and not present in Ms. Gardner's phone. And by the way, the messages provided by defense counsel about killing the insurance salesperson and her own children were not deleted because she didn't really mean them. She deleted the text message about killing Jared Brightigan because she really didn't mean that. She got different phones. I know there's gonna be a ton of argument that she was advised to do this by attorneys, that it's not her fault, none of this is consciousness of guilt, but she's calling this a burner phone. Her own children are telling detectives, are you looking for mommy's burner phone? She's talking to Kim Jensen on the wire intercept about evading law enforcement interception of their communications. And she's not talking about it in the context of, let's talk about some embarrassing, intimate things about my life. They're talking about it in the context of Henry Tennant, truck, payments, their PR firm. Those are the subject matters where they stop talking and say, maybe we shouldn't talk about this on the phone. Maybe we should try FaceTime. Maybe we should try something else. There's an innocent explanation for everything individually. There's a totality of circumstances that you look at. No innocent person would talk this way, act this way, do the things she did, not do the things she did, and not say the things that she didn't say. Her contact with Fernandez during his trip to Canada, I mean, that's what the children said, he's going camping in Canada. But there was no dispute from the detective that Mario Fernandez started driving up the East Coast, that he had no pre-planned, prepaid hotel rooms. They were able to see that he's showing up in places, calling and getting hotel rooms spur of the moment, buying toiletries. And then when he's speaking to Shanna Gardner as her children are being interviewed by CPT, and when they leave, and she's able to have an opportunity to be alone with them, she calls them and all of a sudden turns and comes back home. All of this together adds up to a consciousness of guilt that shows that she knew this was going to happen, she wanted it to happen, she encouraged it to happen, and she ended up pleased with the results because she got everything she wanted.
By the common law and the right of every individual to the possession and control of her person, free from all restraint or interference of others, unless by clear and unquestionable authority of the law.
I want to hear about this wiretapping. All right, here we go. And then I want to show you guys, I have a police report I'm going to show you.
All right, Mr. Crady.
Yes, Judge. The state told you that this was a circumstantial evidence case, and we agree. The only difference is that we believe the evidence they have is both stale and weak. I want to remind the court that Article 1, Section 14 of the Florida Constitution says that the standard for an Arthur hearing is proof of guilt is evidence or the presumption is great. And if the state does not carry that burden, the defendant shall be entitled to release on reasonable conditions. If no conditions of release can reasonably protect the community from risk of physical harm to persons, assure the presence of the accused at trial, or assure the integrity of the judicial process, then the accused may, it's not a shall, it's a may, be detained. The state burden of persuasion here, proof evident or presumption great, is higher than proof beyond a reasonable doubt for the state to obtain a conviction at trial. That's Thorntman versus Junior, 338 Southern 3rd 207. That's the Florida Supreme Court, 2022. And to quote the United States Supreme Court judge, no right is held more sacred or is more carefully guarded by the common law than the right of every individual to the possession and control of her person, free from all restraint or interference of others, unless by clear and unquestionable authority of the law. And that is Union Pacific Railroad versus Botsford 141 U.S. 250, 1891. And that is routinely cited by Florida appellate courts that are reviewing habeas petitions on bond. Judge. I also want to direct your attention to Rule 3.132, the pretrial detention statute. And that statute says, a final order of pretrial detention shall not be based exclusively on hearsay evidence. And I would say that everything that Ms. Stiffler just argued to get over the standard is hearsay. And to be honest, Detective Johns was not credible, and you can't even believe his hearsay. They didn't bring you firsthand evidence, and they could have. They could have called Kim Jensen to the stand for you, Your Honor. They could have admitted Kim Jensen's grand jury testimony. They chose to call a detective who couldn't even get his facts right. You heard that he told this court that Mr. Byrd interpreted that comment by Ms. Gardner back that she made in 2016 or 2015, whatever it was, that meant murder. Well, Mr. Baez showed him the report where Mr. Byrd told the detectives. I didn't take it to mean anything at the time. He told the court that there was no way that Ms. Gardner would have known about the blue truck in January when she made that controlled call that the court has, or even in August when she called her PR team. Within an hour after Mr. Tennant is arrested, detectives are at the house on Potomac Avenue that Mr. Fernandez owns, and they're telling the tenant there, Mr. Ordway, hey, your buddy Tennant's blue truck was used in the murder of Radigan. And that wasn't the first time they were at that house. The detective told you that. And detective also told you during cross-examination that after that, Mr. Ordway called Mr. Fernandez right away. And that sets up the link that Ms. Gardner now has all this information because the state told you that they live together and they talk. So that is not that Ms. Gardner had this information back in April when she spoke to the police. It's not that she had it back in March when she spoke to the police and she just withheld it. But if you're Ms. Gardner and you have a PR team and you have a lawyer by August of 2022, what do? You reach out to them and listen to the wires because that's indicative of the conversation she has with these people. They never tell her to go to the police. So you can't penalize her, and it doesn't move the needle at all that she's guilty because she follows the advice of professionals. The statements of Kim Jensen that you heard 100% hearsay other than those text messages. And those text messages are old, and I'll talk about those. The testimony about Liam Bradigan. You saw the video. You'll have it, an hour and 23. I didn't play it, but he repeats himself at an hour and 34 minutes again. Yes, I saw Mario Fernandez in the house. He was playing video games. An hour 23, an hour 34. And Your Honor knows that that is a child protection team interview, that those are trained interviewers. Their purpose there is to ensure that the child is not being coached and that the child is not being manipulated. You heard the state say, well, the child was coached. She coached her kids. There's no evidence of coaching. You heard a lot of evidence of suspicion and a lot about motive. You can read 1,000 cases, Your Honor, that all say that motive is not an element to the crime of first-degree murder. Let's talk about the text messages. These texts are in 2015 and 2016 predominantly, maybe some in 2017. The detective's like, oh yeah, this continued up to 2021 and 2022. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Don't you think that the state, who has the burden here that's higher than beyond a reasonable doubt, would have hit print? They don't exist, Your Honor. They don't exist. What they show is they show dislike towards Mr. Bradigan. You have a friend venting to another friend over a very difficult co-parenting situation and a contentious divorce. And many adults in similar circumstances say the exact same thing. They're indicators of frustration, but not proof of a murder on February 16th of 2022. In retrospect, those words were clearly poor judgment, but poor judgment does not in any way equate to actual intent and does not prove misconduct in this case, which would be a first-degree murder. There is zero, and I'll talk about this, there is zero evidence that was brought before you today of any act by Ms. Gardner that was done with the intent to carry out a plan or directly carry out the murder of Jared Bryan. Detective Johns testified on direct, it was contentious divorce. They were in and out of court. They talked about child custody. He hadn't even read the court filings. Hadn't even read the court filings. He told you that after on cross-examination when Mr. Baez brought it up. And what did Mr. Baez tease out? Mr. Baez brought up that it was about money. It was about money for Jared Bryan. And what did Jared Bryan get from Miss Gardner? Because money's important in this case, according to the state. Jared Bryan stopped paying child support so the kids could go to because Miss Gardner wanted the kids to go to Discovery School. He fought tooth and nail. And then Miss Gardner said, I'll waive the child support. Why? Because in reality, she didn't need it. And this is not a murder so that she can be trustee of her own trust. You heard that Mr. Fernandez was the one writing the checks to the Discovery School. He was transferring the money. He was doing everything with the finances. It didn't matter to Miss Gardner. She had all the money in the world. All she had to do was ask Mr. Fernandez, the trustee. And Your Honor heard the reason for that. So that income, that money would not be directly attributable to Shanna Gardner, so that then Jared Bryan couldn't go after her for child support and say, well, she has all this money. But that's not a motive because there's no evidence that Shanna Gardner financially benefited whatsoever from the death of Jared Bryan. There's this fallacy that Shanna Gardner, was free to do what she wanted. I think that's what Ms. Stiffler said, that she could move to Washington. That is a false narrative, Judge. You heard from Megan White that Shanna was run out of town and cried when she left Florida. You heard from Marla Rogers specifically about how it came about to where Shanna Gardner moved to Washington State. You heard that she lost her business as a result of the social media smear campaign. You heard that her children felt threatened, that she felt threatened. And that is all corroborated. Why? Because, Your Honor, you have it as a defense exhibit that the Gardner family spent millions of dollars on a home in Jacksonville Beach, and that home was bought, I think, 2 weeks after. I think they closed 2 weeks after Jared Bryan was killed. Why? So the Gardners had a place as a family to stay when they could come visit Florida. And that type of investment shows that Miss Gardner never intended to leave Florida.
Never.
And it shows that Jared Bryan was never killed so that Miss Gardner could have this miraculous freedom. There's the fallacy
she
of
would
the
have
baptism,
moved.
right? That Shanna killed Jared Bryan over religion.
No.
Well, first of all, you heard that in the consent final judgment that she agreed that the kids were going to be raised in one church. You heard that Shanna may have been upset at first that the child wanted to be baptized in the church, but she did not obstruct it. In fact, she facilitated it. You heard that from Bishop Curry. And you heard that it was a coordinated effort. And the reality is, and you heard this from many witnesses, that Miss Gardner was not anti-church. She still associated with them. Her family was still members of the church. She was not anti her daughter being baptized. That is not a motive. That is not a reason in this case. It's a false narrative.
Unfucking believable.
There's this idea that Miss Gardner was going to pay for Mr. Tennant, right? And how could she have not been aware of this $5,000? Mr. Fernandez was the trustee. He handled all finances. The trust is clear that Miss Gardner played no role in the finances. The bank records that you were given are clear, and the detective said it, that Mr. Fernandez wrote all the checks on that account that was used to write the checks to Henry Tennant. Miss Gardner played no role in that account or that business, though her name is on the LLC. Those homes were Mr. Fernandez's homes before they got married.
That is so key.
Those checks that they admitted, those are all written by Mr. Fernandez. There is no financial evidence linking Miss Gardner to anything that has to do with this case. Mr. Fernandez even wrote the checks, Detective Reed, for the kids' school. I mean, the one thing that you think Miss Gardner, if she was going to write checks for, would be the kids' school. She didn't even do that. There is no physical evidence, no video evidence, nothing linking Miss Gardner to the killing. In fact, I think everyone agrees that she's at Walmart up until minutes before the kids get home. That night on February 16th before date night. And the detective stubbornly agreed, but anything could have happened on that way home from Walmart. A crash could have occurred, traffic, and Miss Gardner wouldn't have been there for the kids to be dropped off. Why would Ms. Gardner cut it so close, Your Honor? Well, because she believed Mr. Fernandez would be there, which is what Liam Bridigan says in the CPT. Henry Tennant, and this was clear, Your Honor, does not mention Shanna Gardner in the planning or execution of the killing. He does not ever even say he's ever met her, because Mr. Baez cross-examined the detective on that, and the detective corrected him and said, no, Tennant didn't say that. Miss Gardner says that in a phone call that she met him once 5 years earlier. And you'll hear that. And what is the state's theory of the killing? The state's theory of the killing is that Miss Gardner said, hey, I'm going to divorce you unless you go kill Jared Bridigan, and then I'm going to stay with you, and that's going to save our marriage. That's the state's theory. That's what Henry Tennant said.
It's actually the opposite.
They had already told the school that they were divorcing. And guess what? They all but divorced. And because they did what they said they were going to do, the state somehow tells you that's evidence of first-degree murder.
Can I ask you about that? So
Yeah.
I want your view on that same statement that I just asked Ms. Stiffler about.
The Hawaii statement?
Correct.
Well, what Ms. Stiffler left out, I think the detective said it, was Shanna Gardner's response, according to Ms. Jensen, was absolutely not.
Okay. And that came not through a text message. That came not through a text message, but grand jury testimony. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding. But I believe the detective said this because I think Ms. Stiffler brought it out on direct, that Ms. Jensen's testimony was that Ms. Gardner said absolutely not. I don't want that.
And
And
this was delivered when she got back from Hawaii. This
it
was from Ms. Gardner, supposedly,
to Ms.
to
Jensen
KJ after the Hawaii trip.
after the Hawaii trip or during, or maybe it was a phone call from Hawaii.
Okay.
And so even if you believe Ms. Jensen, and Judge, I want to harp on this, right? The state didn't bring Ms. Jensen in here, okay? And that's an issue for them because we believe that there are credibility issues with that statement. But it's hard to get it when you're talking about double hearsay because Detective Johns wasn't even at the grand jury.
Wow, I told you
And
guys.
so that goes
Because he's
against the
only,
state that
he
they
doesn't
didn't bring
have
Ms. Jensen in here.
qualifications.
If they were saying she's essentially the link to all of it, then you have hearsay. And at best,
Well, hearsay is admissible,
I don't
but it can't all be based on hearsay.
disagree with you, Judge, but the problem that this court should have with that is
Because it's
that
all hearsay.
the connections here, and they're trying to connect several dots,
They're not
that the
there.
weight the court should give to the testimony of Detective Johns should not be given significant weight, especially with respect to Ms. Jensen. Because here's the problem with Ms. Jensen, is she wasn't brought in here. And then what are probably the most incriminating testimony from Ms. Jensen is not in the grand jury. It's when they pull her over and basically arrest her and transport her to the state attorney's office and then try and freeze her out by leaving her isolated in a room, making her think she herself is a murderer. And then she apparently makes these statements that incriminate my client, Ms. Gardner, but despite technology in 2023, no one decides to take a recorded statement for her. They don't say right after that, Your Honor, we're going to take a sworn. They don't write a report on it.
Right,
And
exactly.
the first time that anyone on this side of the room hears about these statements is during this hearing. Because he told you there's no report, it's not even in my case file.
And
He said that.
I didn't pick that up.
He said there's no report, it's not in the file.
Okay.
I love this judge. I love this judge.
The state talked to you about this trip by Mario up north. Again, the problem with that is that how in the world would Miss Gardner know exactly
Okay.
what the children told the
All right, so here, check this out. I'm gonna go to Hector the projector. Bring it to me, Hector. What do you got? Show me what you're working with. Take a look. Here is the police report. All right, police report time. What they're just talking about right here, this is your police report. Now take a look. This is what I had problems with. This is back on Monday, July 18, 2022, at approximately 14:54 hours. Detective Lamont, that's Johns' partner. And what says, and I met with Jeremy, they call him J.O., at 5239 Potomac Avenue in Jacksonville, Florida. The only vehicle parked at the residence was an older model red Toyota displaying Florida plates. Now, while Detective Lamont interviewed J.O. near the front door of the residence, I was standing nearby in the driveway. Approximately 5 minutes later, and while J.O. was talking to Detective Lamont, an older black male driving a white, older model four-door Ford Crown Victoria with floor plates, Orwell identified the male as Henry and continued his interview. Detective Lamont, Tenny got out of the car, got a metal bowl out of the trunk, filled it up with water, and set it on the ground near what appeared to be a truck tire, specifically a BF Goodrich Advantage TA Sport LT size 265, leaned up against the corner of the house. There was no truck in the driveway and did not see any other tires in the area. I know I knew Detective Lamont may have wanted to speak with Tenant and spoke briefly with Tenant on unrelated matters while waiting for Ordway, but here it is. After Detective Lamont finished talking with J.O., I asked Ordway about the tire. J.O. said, that's Ordway, the tire did not belong to him, and he said he found it in front of his house by the curb, said while pointing to the grassy area by his driveway. He did not say as to when or why he brought it up from the roadway to his house. You guys, this would be, look at the date again. July 18th, 2022. Miraculously, some way, somehow, you're just going to whip out tires that are associated with the murder and just leave them on the front of your lawn by like your mailbox, this grassy area. It gets better. I asked if he wanted the tire or wanted me to dispose of it for him, to which he said I could take the tire. I loaded the tire into the back of my police vehicle. Detective Lamont and I returned to police headquarters located at. Now, one day later on Tuesday, Detective Lamont and I went over to the property room and compared the two tires. Would you like I would be like a kid at a candy store. Like, I'm going to go immediately. Why would I wait a day? Whatever. Really weird. They went to there. Noting that both the dot numbers along, so they went to the property because they went to go get that tire that was Jared Brightigan's tire that he allegedly was in the middle of the road and he went to go move. Okay. So here, hold on. Where's it at? Sorry, these binders slip and slide. Okay. They went with the labels along with the date of the manufacture 4718, which labels the tires being manufactured in the 47th week of 2018. I learned so much about tires from this case. Like, you guys, tires will come back and haunt you. Let me go like this. This. I'll make it bigger. Both these tires appear to match each other. They're a match. It's a match. Detective Lamont and I repackaged the original tire seized from the scene, packaged the second tire taken from 5239 Potomac Avenue, and placed both back into property. Okay. Voila. Hold on. One last thing I want to show you guys about that shit. So July. So then they were all about tracking this shit down the tires. But really quick. Okay. So this is how they were able to obtain a search warrant. Guess who's signing off on all these search warrants, by the way? ADA Stiffler. Wait till you guys see these subpoenas and shit. ADA Stiffler was signing off on these subpoenas, okay? But something's off to me with this. I'm gonna explain it, and maybe it's just better to explain a different day. Something's off to me about this tire. Don't know why, but it's just off. But then on Tuesday, August 8th, so think about how many days would have went by since July, okay? Oh, wait. Here's that police report. So on July 26th, Jeremy advised Henry Tennant drove a blue F-150 similar to the vehicle of interest in this case. See, they went back numerous times. Now they label Jeremy as a person of interest, okay? I advised J.O. we had some follow-up questions. He stated he did not know anything about the tire. He stated it was initially in the ditch in front of the house. It was initially in front of the ditch in front of the house. Now this truck, mind you guys, it's just interesting that this truck had an issue and its engine messed up or whatever, and they put it in some like scrap yard or whatever you're gonna come to see. And it's like, where did this tire come from? You know? Because if he has all 4 tires on his vehicle, like he bought, it just doesn't. So I had to like really do some hunting about this. So they want to talk like in that proceeding that they talked at length with these dudes and said about this, like they find this tire, just so happens after all these months is just laying on the road or laying in the ditch. Then the guy decides to pick up the tire, put it on the side of the house, kind of, lean up against the side of the garage of the house, and the detectives just happen to come on over and, oh, wow, look at that tire we see, okay? Just think about this, like from like a standpoint of, if you tell a family, hey, we get it, we know, we understand, we see all this stuff, like you're just gonna have to give us some time and we're gonna investigate this, okay? He initially stated it somehow ended up on the side of the house and he was not sure how it even got there. Then he stated the tire somehow ended up in the front yard and he was tired of seeing it fill with water. So he set it up against the side of the house. He said he was not concerned with the tire because he did not own a truck. And he stated Tennant has not had his truck in several months. You guys see this? Where did this tire come from? The engine had blown up. J.O. was asked what type of truck Tennant had. He asked what color the truck was. He said it was blue. He stated Tennant's father died and Tennant went up to Georgia and got his father's truck. I showed him a picture of a blue 2004 F-150 with tan, blah, blah, blah. He says, yeah, that's it. Okay. Because they had it on camera footage. J.O. said that once the truck was no longer functional, Tennant left the truck at Twins Food Store for about 2 weeks and then had it because it wasn't running in about 3 months. So how did this, you guys, where did this tire come from? This truck wasn't even at the house for all these months afterwards. It hadn't been even around. And yet there's just this tire that just appears just right before the detectives show up at this person's house. I think that they already did all these searches. They looked into every single person that Mario Saldana was associated of. They knew that he had those houses. They looked into the tenants. Okay. Records search revealed that blue 2004 F-150 was registered to Henry Tennant. A query of the LPRs in the area revealed several hits from his truck in the Jacksonville area. The truck from the LPR photos and the video obtained during the day of the homicide appeared to match. Okay. Talk about how you got to, it's like this. Let's use IGG and say we did it this way so that because I believe that they already knew this because they looked into every single person. Like they would have already known this. Okay, they would have run all of this stuff. They're acting like they just found out about it this day. Fuck no, I don't do that for a second. Okay, I don't. Not at all. Not after I heard Detective John's talk. Get the fuck out of here. All right, because I knew that I've already studied this case. I printed everything off. Don't worry, guys. Let's see. So then we get to July 27th. July 28th or 26th, rather. J.O. advised Henry Tennant drove this blue, similar to the vehicle interest, blah, 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 blah. A registration boat, because we already know all that. On July 27th, Detective Burrell and I conducted a search of the immediate area surrounding. Following streets were checked. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about Delphi. I can't remember. I said, look at my coming up lives about Delphi. Okay, so while searching the area, several automotive type businesses were located. So there's that. Just they're like showing. I appreciate this. They're showing what they're doing. They're showing their work. Okay. But I have a huge problem with this tire and how this all panned out. Thursday 28th at approximately 14 hours, Detective Burrell and I searched the parking lot of the Arbor Place Apartments located and received from Mario Saldana's cellular site search warrant. So they were like following around everywhere that Mario had been. Again, this is all leading back to Mario. His phone was in the area the day prior to the murder. Okay, in this area. The truck was not found in the parking lot. While searching the parking lot, contact was made with Kevin Monroe, who is a member of the maintenance crew. Monroe was showed a picture of the truck. Monroe stated that he has seen a truck matching the description in the lot. He does not believe the individual driving the truck is a resident because the truck is not seen with regularity. Can't wait for this person to testify. At this time, there are no known associates of anyone identified in this case living at this address. On Monday, August 1st, again, they were looking for this vehicle. August 8th, at approximately 12, we requested cell phone location data was received from T-Mobile for Henry Tennant. Remember, he wasn't arrested yet. So these search warrants, everything to do with all this stuff, I want to see these how did you get all this shit? The date range requested for Tennant's date was from this to that. Wow, I mean, this is historical data. Understand? Upon reviewing the data, it was discovered 2 phone calls of interest were made from Tennant's cellular phone the night of 2/16/2022. It's the murder night. The phone calls were made at 21:18 hours to this number, JO, and 21:23 hours, unknown. Both calls were made utilizing T-Mobile cellular tower in Jacksonville Beach and were incoming calls. Okay. Now, at approximately, so then we go on to the next day here. On 4/2/2022, so at approximately 69 hours, Tennant's blue 2004 F-150 truck was picked up on an LP, that's a license plate reader, located at 103rd Street in Ricker. This is the last known LPR location in which the truck was recorded on 4/2/2022. So think about this. They knew they needed to get rid of this truck, right? A truck driving around has 4 tires, right? Think about this. A truck driving around has 4 tires. So it wasn't one of the truck tires that was taken off and put in the middle of the road. This would be a tire that obviously wasn't on the truck, but could have been one of the tires in the middle of the road that was like the spare of the truck, right? Well, I said to myself, well, that doesn't make any sense, because then how did they match it to a tire that was, in the yard? It has to be like somebody that bought two tires at the same time type of thing, in my opinion, based off of when I was reading these reports. That's what we're going to get to. And then, so this is the last time that they have it, driving around. Tenant purchased, now look at this. This is the last known LPR location in which the tire, on 4/2/2022 at approximately 13:06 hours, tenant's truck was serviced at Discount Tire, located at, how are we jumping to this? How did you figure this out? Where is there a report of anybody going to Discount Tire? How are you getting this, right? So on 4/2/2022, tenant's truck was serviced at Discount Tire, located at 7237, so been after the fact. Tenant purchased 2 new tires, and it appears they were placed on the front axle. Okay? But this would have been after the murder. According to the receipt, tenant kept 1 tire and disposed of 1 tire through Discount Tire. So what they did is they said, okay, well, we're dealing with tires here. Let's go around to the local places and give him tenant's name and see if he was ever a customer. So, but this is still all after the murder. Okay. On Friday, August 12th, received information from Detective Sergeant Young about Henry Tennant having a vehicle service at Discount Tire located. Okay, there's a number. At approximately, I arrived at the business and met with the store manager. Upon giving the number to Wright, he said Discount Tire had 2 dates of service for Henry Tennant. Wright said he had no direct information for either dates of service and said the business's surveillance footage only goes back approximately 10 days from the date of the service. He said he believed Discount Tire, Aaron L., whatever, may remember the service dates, and said Glennon was presently working at the River City location. The first date of the service, April 2nd, 2022, reference number, was for a 2004 base purchase. The total was $300 and paid with a card. Okay. According to Wright, whoever brought in the truck kept the front driver's side tire. The second date of service was April 23rd, 2022. Was for the car. Said a purchase of 2. What's date on that? Okay. Total was this. Okay. I scanned a copy of the receipt and left. Now remember, okay, I'll just continue. On Thursday, August 11th, I emailed Customs and Border Protection requesting a flyover. AE said did not see a blue, so they didn't find it during that time. They're looking for this truck. They're trying to find this truck. It was discovered the original CD that was placed into property did not contain the auto recordings of the interview with Jeremy. So that's why they made this supplement, and I made a note of this. Somehow it just didn't make it in there. Okay. So I responded back to the area to retrieve vehicle keys from the resident. I spoke with the resident, Jeremy, who had handed me a set of keys. Jeremy explained what each key went to. Jeremy said the small Ford key was for his father's Crown. The other key was to his vehicle parked in the driveway. Jeremy said that the other set of keys were Henry's Ford truck keys. Look at the date. You know what that date is? So he goes over there. You know what they left in the discovery dump that they gave us? They left out, look at the report. What does it say? 109? Now I get to connect the debts on these motherfuckers. 109? That's 108. This is missing, they went over there at 5:45 a.m. or they called, where's that report? To tell them that Henry was arrested. But he got the Ford keys. He got Henry's Ford truck keys. This is how they found out that this guy was arrested. Day after. Received a sealed envelope that contained the plastic flex cuffs Henry wore the previous day. Oh, because they wanted to scan it, and they got the coffee cup for his DNA when they hauled him in there. That's August 18th. At approximately 5:30, Jeremy Scott was contacted at 5:20. This is where Jose Baez found this to fucking go whoop whoop on that ass. You want to know how Shanna Gardner found out about this shit? Because you just told J.O. everything. At approximately 5:30 hours, J.O. was contacted in reference to Henry Tennant's arrest, which resulted from a traffic stop. See that? I already knew. I already knew that was important. J.O. was contacted in reference to taking control of Tennant's dog. Taking control of Tennant's dog. What did he say on the stand? That's why Jose grabbed it so quickly. Jose grabbed it so quickly so that he could get him on that lie, baby. Woo! He's a damn lie. He contacted him in reference to taking control of Tennant's dog. While speaking with J.O., he further interviewed in reference to Tennant and his 2004 blue F-150. Hey! Hold on 1 second. Oh, it's time to party. It's Saturday. But this is a great place to leave off because this is showing you right here where this whole fuckery started happening. It's not what he said on the stand. But we're gonna pick up a little bit later because we're gonna talk about when they gave him all the information. Orway was advised Tennant's truck was used in the murder bribery. It's right there. He just told him it. You don't give all that type of information, okay? You understand that? Henry Tennant thinks he got arrested for a traffic violation. The same day, the police tell him in the morning, his roommate at 5:30 in the morning saying, no, hey, guess what? We think that your truck was involved in Jared's murder. It's right there. This is wild. See you guys soon.